Hello, everybody. We don't have to wait for the air conditioner today because it's officially fall. Today's September 28th, and today we're doing government and social news.
No, our audio hasn't improved. It's just the air conditioners are off.
Finally.
But you know what? It's going to be the season for soon.
The boiler snake.
The boiler snake.
He will rise.
I really want to do a review on LG mini split air conditioners, but it's like, don't buy LG. It's so bad.
They are very squeaky.
Yeah.
If you ever hear that sound in the back of our videos and it's summertime, that's what you're hearing.
And you might be thinking, you just got some bad. Those are just some duds. No, they're all over the building.
There's like 12 of them.
They're all bad.
They're bad.
You know what else is bad? When the government can control every aspect of your life. In fact, it's terrifying. And it's coming. I'll add a little addendum to this that the CNBC didn't mention. One of the new budget bills has an amendment to the Federal Reserve Act. Guess what it enables?
Oh, the debt ceiling thing? Is that the thing? The Fed is evaluating whether to launch a digital currency and in what form, Powell says.
Yes, that amendment gives them the authority to do that because they don't have it.
Oh, no. It's funny. This article talks about how this needs to be tied to the dollar and blah, blah, blah. And the only thing I could think of was, aren't we going to default on our debt? Like, aren't
we close to that?
Pretty sure that's going to happen, just as political fighting.
They will never let that happen.
I don't know. McConnell said he will.
No, because he knows that the Democrats will blink first. Otherwise, he wouldn't be that brave. You don't kill the pig, you just bleed it. They know that. They're not stupid. And Zoom, I guess, not having enough success with the teleconferencing stuff, have decided to branch out, but the government says, hey, hang on a minute.
U.S. committee is reviewing Zoom's $14.7 billion deal on 5/9 on national security grounds. So there's a lot to unpack in this article, a lot more than the headline. Zoom is an American company, and it was founded by an American citizen. But, his parents were from China. And so... was it Pelosi? I think it was Pelosi referred to Zoom as a Chinese company a couple of times. She didn't mean that, or maybe she did. I don't know. But, Chinese American. But it's a U.S. citizen that owns Zoom. And 5/9 is not an American company, and so it's really weird. The timing of this is just super weird.
They, without naming any names or even nationalities, they referenced what do they call it? Foreign participation.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious what that foreign participation they fear might be. Is that the case? Who knows? I mean, we've definitely seen some American citizens. Remember those guys who were in the university system just stealing everything? So it's not unheard of.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I've been following the case in Tennessee, and it's completely fallen apart. It's starting to look more like a witch hunt than actual good policing.
Was that I'm pretty sure they had that guy dead to rights, the Chinese guy who was just taking all the secrets from the research.
One of them they did, yes, but a bunch of other people got swept up in that, and the guy in Tennessee is looking, it's looking like they screwed up really bad so far.
But now, after what we've seen with Nikola and Theranos, do you think Zoom did enough to vet that? Are they confident, or did they not?
I think this is really just about numbers and shareholders. Like, it stopped being about delivering value to people and started being about analytics. Like, why would we do this? Well, our analytics will look better to shareholders. That's the whole reason. It doesn't matter if it's good anymore.
That's true of any business.
Yeah, you've just described everything about corporate and politics as well. I mean, look, there's a really good reason nobody from the White House has been to Texas. That is a rough optic. And they're just like, you know what? We're better off not doing that. And I think, same kind of thing here, right?
Yeah, it's at this point, I think society has already collapsed, and it's just an ambling corpse.
It's a slow collapse, but it's the Venn diagram where, here's the apocalypse, and here's where you have to go to work, and they're overlapping.
It almost seems like there's a bunch of people out there that are like, all right, that sounds great. You just keep doing that. I'm going to keep working on making sure that everything continues to operate correctly. And increasingly, those sides are disconnected.
Oh, we don't have anybody to replace those people.
No.
Because what's coming next? Can't do that. And if we actually have already collapsed and we just haven't realized it yet, then perhaps one of the pillars of that collapse was our loss of control of our data.
Senate Democrats calling the FTC to fix data privacy crisis. The FTC, who historically has been very computer literate and very on the ball with technology issues. That FTC.
But remember that between Khan and what was the new guy's name? Alavea or Ava,
Oh yeah,
something
he was
like
just
that.
hired.
They are both like, it was like they were designed for this. So he has placed them in there, and now he has, removed the leash, I think is what's going on there.
There's definitely going to be a coming reckoning where a lot of the big name, like companies are going to get caught up in fines. There's going to be Cambridge Analytica things when, like Meyer or somebody leaks all of their customer data, and they are 100% going to throw their ad agencies under the bus, and it's going to be amazing.
It already happened in the EU. Let's hope it happens here.
It's like, oh, you mean you weren't you're not handling the data correctly, like we said. Why?
Yeah, but then there's going to be an email. It's like, hey, Bob, I just want to let you know what we're doing here might be a little iffy. Are you okay with that?
As long as we don't get caught.
How much is our sales going to increase? And one of the other things that historians might point to, although I don't think it really mattered much, was cryptocurrency. It has changed a lot of things about the world. A lot of people will tell you that it's made crime much easier. That's probably true. But the solution here seems to be to, again, just put the government in control of all of our money.
Crypto channels targeted in Biden's fight against ransomware. Oh, if cryptocurrency is used for an illegal transaction, it's going to be doubly illegal, triply illegal, quadruply illegal. It's like, what does that even mean?
It might become illegal just to pay ransoms. Like, that's what they're angling toward here.
It's already it's one of those like know somebody that knows somebody things, but there were some calls made to a company that paid a ransomware, and it turns out the ransomware group was operating out of Iran. The State Department had a real problem with that. That's already illegal. And they will call you and be like, what did you do?
At which point you should say, I don't talk to cops.
Yeah, talk to my lawyer. Yeah. It's like, how did you even know? Maybe it'll be like this, where it's like it wasn't really Iran. It was actually the State Department, and they just couldn't say anything.
I was trying to remember all the time. So we definitely had the one in Australia.
Yes.
Where they took over the server, and we know that what do they call it? What's
child exploitation?
No, but what's Apple's acronym?
Oh, CSAM.
CSAM. They knew that CSAM, previously unreleased CSAM, like, they've got hashes of all these pictures. So new stuff made it onto the site. New stuff was distributed while the feds were running the server. They did a similar thing in a cryptocurrency scam. Remember that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So there's a storied tradition of this here, but is it really the best for us?
The FBI held back the decryption keys from businesses while targeting the REvil hackers. Now, the REvil hackers must have gotten wind of, the article implies, but it doesn't say, that the REvil hackers must have gotten wind of the fact that they were compromised because they disappeared before the FBI could make its move. So the FBI pretty much immediately had the REvil keys, and a lot of businesses, bothered to restore from backups and stuff like that. How annoyed would you be if a couple of weeks down the road, the law enforcement was like, oh, by the way, all that work that you did, you didn't need to do it. Here's your key.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
They sat on it for 3 weeks.
What's going to happen? Like, in reality, what's going to happen is they're still going to have the key. Next time, they're just not going to say anything. At all. Ever.
Yeah, I guess if we get enough backlash.
Yeah,
sure.
Because,
right.
Why wouldn't you be outraged that they're, like you say, doing really hideously evil things with this? It's like, does the means justify the end?
Now, is their job to catch the bad guys or protect the citizenry? Which one of those should rank higher? Remember when we took a long, hard look at high-speed chases and said, you know what? We have cameras. We can just get them later, and then nobody has to get killed.
Mostly that works.
No, they'd still... Listen, I understand road rage more than most. I suffer from it greatly. I understand you get that adrenaline, and you're just ready to do whatever. But you know what? It's your job not to do that. And it's this man's job to just make angry press releases because he can't do anything about this.
CIA director fuming after Havana syndrome strikes team member in India. Some officials fear the incidents are increasing and escalating, leaving officers on the edge. So this is if you are living under a rock or you haven't been following the news for a long time, Havana syndrome is this thing where people get disoriented and it causes lasting biological damage.
They get like nauseous. It's like inner ear damage almost. Like their balance is thrown off. They're nauseous. Like
we think it's some kind of new microwave weapon, and we think it's somehow related to espionage because it first happened in Cuba. Spy programs, that kind of thing. But
I think we had some in D.C. as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
This guy was traveling, and his aide was traveling, and the schedule's not really published. But he suffered from this thing, and that he's making a big deal about it in the press. It seems like not spycraft. Like you would not, because wouldn't your spycraft
not
enemies
low-key,
be really happy about the impotent rage of...
No, I think this is, the spycraft enemies can read between the lines. And what he's saying here was, this was too close. Danger close. You want to get the low-level guys and we keep this game going, okay, but not me. I'm going to do something about this if it's me.
Yeah, that's we don't know where it's coming from. We don't even have good technology for tracking this kind of thing.
And it's not even a consistent set of symptoms. It's like the thing. Over in the UK, they have maybe they've lost some political clout, you could say, with Brexit. It's caused some problems. They are certainly sort of an outsider now when it comes to a lot of things. One of those is technology. They don't have a lot left, and even ARM.
ARM is maybe exiting.
Yeah, they had ARM. The buildings will still be there, but they might not benefited from it. And I think they're understanding that, and they've decided to, well, at least talk about it, I guess.
The UK has published a 10-year plan to become an AI superpower seeking to rival US and China. I was surprised when I read the plan. It was just one page. The middle of the page said, become AI superpower.
Question marks.
Yeah, it's like the 4chan format of like, do this, question mark, profit.
In all fairness, they're going to try to work on education and a couple of other things at the university level, but there's not a lot here, really. Build some supercomputers.
Throw some money around, but not a ton of money.
No.
Just a fun headline.
Yeah.
That's all they needed.
And they're talking about, keeping up with the U.S. and China. No, I don't think so.
Nobody can keep up with China. They're working everybody to death.
Literally.
I think not yet, but they're getting ready to switch into that. I think we're seeing what they're stepping up to.
What is it, 996? Is that what they call it? Something like that?
That's not legal anymore. It's 995.
Well, it's not going to be 996 for private companies anymore. But, if you're doing stuff for the party, I'm sure that's okay. You can get a waiver. And we find out just how messy, when you take a look at technology and government that has existed for a long time, it's kind of like layers of paint. And there's a lot of bad stuff under there that you don't see. But it's affecting things for sure.
Catalogue of errors led to $1 billion of state pension underpayments. This is just horrifying. The problem in the software seems to stem from a time when married widowers weren't entitled to the full pension of the person they were married to in their retirement. So, like, the dude dies and the widow keeps living. What happens with her retirement? Well, in the past, she would only get 40% or whatever. And then at some point, it was decided maybe that's a little bit sexist. We shouldn't do that. But the software glitch was never really fixed to deal with that in a lot of cases.
Does that work in reverse?
Probably. Because usually the way that works is one of the parents is staying home to raise the children. And if they're married, you should get whatever they had.
Pension?
Yeah.
At parent age?
Like, or no, these are all retirees.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the person who stayed home when they were younger was probably staying home to, like, raise kids and stuff.
I don't understand how the UK pension system works. Do you have to have paid into it, like Social Security? Is that how it works?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. All right. So the guy amassed all of the payment power. Yeah, that's annoying. So some of these old birds said that they've been trying to get somebody on the phone for decades.
Yeah, one of them was like 8 years.
Yeah. And they're going to pay some of it back. But one of the women they interviewed, she was like, yeah, they gave me like $4 or $5 grand, but I'm old. Tens of thousands.
The article says 40,000 old women have already died after being shortchanged. And it's like, oh well. My favorite thing.
Thanks for raising the country's children.
My favorite thing with this, and I had to go to a different article to learn this nugget. The article does say that some people can only claim benefits back a year, and other people can claim older benefits. You know what the difference is in being able to claim more than a year? That you complained about it in the past.
Wow.
So if you pointed out their mistake 12 years ago, you can claim back to then. But if you didn't, no soup for you. It's like, that doesn't seem fair at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, especially for old people, you never want to take your eye off the ball when it comes to your money.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of weird stuff that can start happening, and you have to like constantly monitor it.
It's almost like society's doing everything they can to screw over old people.
Yeah.
Man, what are they going to do about it? That's the unfortunate reality of being old. The EU is once again fighting e-waste, and they have decided instead of chargers this time, it's going to be the cables.
EU proposes mandatory USB-C on all devices, including iPhones. This was in the news literally everywhere, and it was a meme for Apple. So this is basically, how do we target Apple? Because you can't single out a single company in the law, but we really need to do this. How Apple's going to respond, no doubt, is to remove the USB-C port completely and make it wireless charging only.
Which is excluded.
Yes.
So basically they're saying, hey, everybody do wireless charging. Now here's a question. Let's say that we discovered a new kind of cable, right? That was incredible. They charge your phone in 10 seconds, run data at insane speeds, whatever. You know, it's just so incredible new technology. How fast does the bureaucracy move to change that law?
But it doesn't.
No, yeah, it doesn't move at all.
That'd be hilarious. So then you'd have to have 2 ports on your little tiny sexy phone. They'd have to make it like, you know, half a millimeter thicker just to get that in there.
The article points out that when they did this in the past, or some country passed this preemptively or something, and Apple just included a dongle. So like there was including a dongle that converts it to USB-C or whatever is a perfectly valid way to get around
So
it.
That shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, but except that still creates e-waste. So
Yeah.
again, you're just
It actually creates more, doesn't it?
yeah. GG.
Well, the EU, not the UK, they're different now, also is sort of taking a look at, you know, that's like, okay, what do we have? Let's take stock in terms of technology, and they kind of get the same answer. They don't have much to compete with. So you got to do something, and they're doing something a little bit novel.
The first RISC-V computer chip lands at the European Processor Initiative. EPAC runs the accelerator runs the first Hello World in Silicon. It's RISC-V, the European Processor Initiative. Woo! There's not really a lot to unpack here other than they're going to try to use RISC-V, and the new chips run at like a 1 gigahertz-ish. They haven't gone through full validation. They did simulate this design on a field programmable gate array, so they know that it's going to, the design booted Linux in the FPGA, but they haven't even gotten to testing Linux on the bare silicon yet, from what I understand.
Yeah, they basically they did the very first step and then ran out and press released it. They're so excited.
I mean, it's a good thing to be proud of if you're European, I guess, but I would be more concerned about getting the manufacturing infrastructure online. That's what you need.
I don't think the citizens of Europe aided in this at all, did they? You should be proud of it if you're these guys, not anybody else. And should you be proud if you're a Lithuanian? Is your government actually giving you good advice, or is this political?
I got to give them props here. I don't think it's political, but maybe it is.
They do seem to have proven,
They cited some technical things.
and the evidence is good.
Reuters has Lithuania says throw away Chinese phones due to censorship concerns. So Lithuania, their technical people apparently are functional enough to say, hey, wait a minute, we're buying phones that have software on them that we probably don't want and probably are not good for our citizenry. That is, if not anti-competitive, that's bad for business here. There's other people we can buy from.
It was phoning home to Singapore, interestingly enough. But something tells me the ownership of that server is not Singaporean. How do you...
That's just a decoy. Yeah, I don't know.
So, it's China. They think it's China. It might be.
Probably is.
Yeah, it probably is.
And once again, I think this certainly speaks to your theory about the cables, because they just copied and pasted. They're like, here, go Xerox this and change these words, and then we'll just use it again.
EU plans to legislate for common phone charger despite Apple grumbles. It's another article from a slightly different perspective on the whole common charger thing. It's just more of the same. Mostly.
And Russia, so I had a little bit of trouble understanding this one. So Russia's opposition, Navalny.
That's the guy that they poisoned,
Right.
that got on a plane. Now, you have to understand that he was arrested previously for political reasons, it looks like, and then was poisoned and was dying, but got out of the country, got to Germany. Germany did a really amazing job, patched him up, and then he was charged with violating the terms of his release by going to another country for health care. And so he's back in jail on those original charges and is wasting away and has probably been psychologically tortured. But I think he's still alive. I'm pretty sure. His supporters wrote an app that said, hey, you should, vote. How are you going to vote in the app to show that there's a lot of us? We can stand up strong. We can be together. And Russia said, that's not okay. You need to pull that, Google. And Google said, okay.
Which is exactly what they do anytime a government says to do something like this.
Yeah.
Even though they're so flowery in their speech about freedoms.
Bloomberg says, Google worker unrest rises after removal of Russia voting app. A lot of people inside Google noticed this and said, wait a minute, this is like a blatant, this is even more blatant than the kidney harvesting that's going on. Look at this. Look at the international trail of insanity that's leading this. Do you realize that we're the only people that make polonium? Come on. And Google's like,
But think of the profits. We still need to be able to sell stuff in Russia.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can chalk up a win for the SEC. Did they go to court? No, they didn't have to. It was the implication was enough.
Coinbase drops lend product after SEC lawsuit threat. The program, which will provide a 4% annual interest on USDC stablecoin holdings, will not be launched. Why? Because it's a security.
And they are the Securities and Exchange Commission. Is it really a security? There's a good argument both ways, but it's probably not something that Coinbase users necessarily needed.
Meanwhile, the naked shorting continues unabated. Somebody made the SEC commissioner, somebody made a desktop widget that's his picture, but it's got googly eyes. And when your cursor gets over top of the picture, it turns into a folder that says evidence, and his eyes look away from it no matter where you move the cursor. It's amazing.
Someone spent time on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty funny. I liked it. It's just like, here's the evidence that they're naked shorting. What's going on? And he's like, no, I don't see it.
Well, naked shorting is not illegal.
Or the what is it? It's the not closing shorts or whatever. You have to close your position eventually. They're not.
Oh, you mean they're just holding the market down with it?
Yeah.
It's pretty common. I think that, like, if you can prove the intent, that might be illegal. How are you going to do that? But the SEC, I mean, it's hilarious. Once again, we see the comparison here, the diff between these two governments. One of them is like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And the other one is just like, smash it.
China says that all cryptocurrency-related transactions are illegal and must be banned. Oh boy, there goes the crypto markets.
I don't know if
this just happened today.
I don't know if you saw those graphs at the top of that page.
Oh no, they're going down.
That's when that happened.
Didn't I thought Bitcoin flash crashed to $4,000 on one exchange. That was mostly a technical glitch, but you could buy Bitcoin on that exchange for $4,000. Oops.
So yeah, the amount of mining in China is ridiculous. I wonder though, will that create a supply crunch in the near future?
That'll make the value go up a fair bit.
Assuming people are still trading it. But was everybody trading it already in China? That's the question. How many people are really using Bitcoin, I think, is the answer that we don't know. Maybe we'll find out here. China is also getting really heavy-handed with its tech industry. We've seen, of course, Jack Ma, poor Jack Ma, and then Didi, and then Tesla. Boy, they've been slapping Tesla around over there too.
Yeah.
And it seems like even their, the big companies, the things that they've been doing for years, all of a sudden the party is just like, no, stop.
In fresh regulatory move, China tells tech giants to stop blocking rivals' links. Okay. We'll see.
How many times do you think? Because obviously, like our tech companies are looking at what China's doing and vice versa, right? How many U.S. boardrooms, like Apple and Facebook and everybody, was this floated and maybe discussed a little bit?
I'm pretty sure Facebook already effectively uses this to shut down some of the things that they don't want shared. That came out repeatedly.
Yeah, but it's on a per event basis, right?
Yeah.
But this was just automated.
Yeah.
If it detected the domain, it just nuked it.
Or discussion about certain kidney harvesting operations, and it's like, oh no, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, anything to do with the Uyghurs or whatever was automatically. But I mean, the Communist Party doesn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
They're okay with that.
This was amazing.
Cambodia.
This is so funny.
This is the great thing of like when modern technology clashes with ancient regimes. And
what are you going to do?
Low technology, because now everybody's got a phone and you can sort of work around all the old rules, but the old rules are still there, trying to stay alive.
Cambodia's prime minister is Zoombombing opposition meetings. He doesn't even care if they know it's him. Hun Sen's government, which has shown little hesitation in quashing any sign of dissent, is taking control of user activities on the internet. Oh, man.
This one doesn't have a picture of him, but basically he just popped in there and he was just like, yeah, and I know what you're doing. And the people were outraged and they're like, what? How can you do that? This is the obvious political manipulation. And the quote for them was just like, oh, no, he's just monitoring to make sure that everything's okay. That's normal.
I don't know. On the one hand, this is outrageous and a sign of, like a despotic government and things going, horribly wrong. But at the same time, how amazing would it be if, like, randos from our government were just popping in like random conspiracy theory websites or chat rooms. They just pop in. It's like,
I like that it's like a live chat though, so you could talk to him.
It's like, what's
Imagine being able to tell Mitch McConnell to his face what you think about him.
There's a great clip. It's Donald Rumsfeld, and he's on a radio show with Louis C.K. And they're just kind of like interviewing him normally because he had a book that came out at the time. And this was well after all of the Bush administration and stuff. And he'd written that book. And Louis C.K. will not stop asking him if he will come out and say that he's not a lizard. And he won't do it. He will not do it. And Louis C.K., in his defense, he's just dogged with it. He's like, I would love to hear you tell me that you're not a lizard person. Silence. It's hilarious. Freedom Hosting was a place where you could host literally anything on the dark web. Literally anything. That was in their marketing material. Hey, listen, we don't ask questions. Now, there was a little paragraph at the bottom about this, but they seem to have not enforced it.
Freedom Hosting admin gets 27 years in prison for hosting the CSAM stuff. So, yeah.
The Record.media not on board with the CSAM acronym yet.
No.
It is silly.
It is silly, but it avoids the algorithm.
Yeah, it's easy
for now
to get around the robots
until it becomes more ubiquitous.
Although it's weird, the algorithm demonetized something from like January of 2020, and it was like we decided this wasn't okay.
You mean
like,
just now it's doing?
Yeah,
that?
just
That's
now.
So funny.
It's like, well, okay, well, we're just going to delete that.
So they figured out that 200 of these websites were that. Can you really be that blind to it if you're the host?
Probably not, unless it's all automated. I mean, if this was like a one-guy operation that was, largely bare metal host automation in some data center somewhere, okay, maybe. But still, I mean, that just shows you the cost of doing business is sort of dangerous. You sort of have to at least look into things a little bit.
He fled to Russia, didn't work. Now he's back here.
He attempted to flee to Russia. He was never from America. He was from Scotland. And the FBI had him arrested and deported from there. He was able to fight his deportation for like 6 or 7 years. That's a whole story in and of itself. That's like a whole, like, the EU, I guess, declined to deal with this. This is something the FBI decided to do. But he hadn't been to America as far as I was aware.
So 27 years for that charge?
Yeah.
You're not going to make it.
No.
There is going to be a Sereno with a very sharp piece of plastic in your future. It's going to suck. Twitter. Are you going to do this?
Maybe.
I think you might get a little something.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Twitter adds Bitcoin tipping and pushes further into NFTs.
So yeah, if you really love a tweet, you really got to express your joy for it, and that little heart is not enough.
There's a devout following for both the Commodore 64 Restore project as well as the Orange Soda stock levels, thanks to Sausage Toes.
Wait, do people tweet you about that? About the?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sausage Toes can't do it on his own, people. He started the revolution. Now it's your job.
We have so much orange soda now. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're good. Go enjoy some on your own before it's gone, before Christmas.
I even managed to get some locally, but yeah.
Wasn't it like the last case you said?
It was.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean that are we turning the corner?
I would say that we're turning a corner, but it's getting harder and harder to get electronic components. So I don't know if we're heading into like another shortage.
If you have to choose one or the other, which one are you going to take?
Oh, that's a tough choice.
Do you know how to pronounce this guy's name?
No.
I don't either. Krista? We're going to butcher it.
Schroepfer.
Anyway, until we get a new headline of where he goes somewhere else, who cares what his name is? He's gone.
Bloomberg, Facebook Chief Technology Officer Schroepfer is going to step down. He's a veteran. He's been there a long time. Andrew Bosworth is going to be promoted to the CTO role. Is this the first rat on a sinking ship, or does this signal real change coming from Facebook? I don't know.
I don't think real change is possible for Facebook at this point.
Would you say that's a stressful job?
Yes. How could it not be? You know, you could wake up tomorrow and it's like, oh, Cambridge Analytica 2, Electric Boogaloo. No.
Oh, and I'm sure you get your daily report email every morning, and it's like, here's how many lizard murder videos we deleted last night. Just a quick heads up look at that. And you think to yourself, I helped make this.
Is there like a rising list of like, oh, now they're killing birds? Like, he sees that come up the list over a course of a few weeks.
Oh no, chickens are trending again.
I wonder if we'll ever feed any of this data to the AI, and eventually it'll tease out, like, just on the precipice of economic collapse, there's a huge spike in, like, bird crushing videos or something.
Or, it's one of those situations where, like Idiocracy, where you wake up in the future and your AI greets you and it's like, oh, hello, human. Would you like a puppy to murder? Will this make you more comfortable?
No, it wouldn't.
And it's like, don't worry, it's humane. This is a very realistic facsimile.
A lab-grown puppy.
Yeah.
No, it can feel pain. Don't worry about that. But it's not naturally birthed. And Facebook, they are very aware, and perhaps that is what sparked this man's exodus, but they're aware of how bad things are and how easy that is to see from the outside all of a sudden. They kind of hid all the rot for a long time, but people are getting better at finding it. So what do?
Facebook has rolled out a news feed change that blocks watchdogs from gathering data. What is that change? Well, it turns out that they're injecting a bunch of textual garbage in the news feed that you don't see when you're looking at it in the browser. The problem is that people that use assistive technologies to read the screen are also reading the garbage now. So Facebook is looking into that. This article was updated with comment from Facebook, which is, we think it's working okay, but we're going to just double check.
Well, now they said they tested it with some screen readers, not all, but some screen readers actually did it. And it's hilarious because, I don't know, have you ever watched a Twitch stream where they have speech to text turned on when you donate? And some people will just hold down a key for the full, ever how many characters they let you have. And then that AI is like, www. And it goes on for minutes. And because these are just strings of random numbers and characters and stuff, that's the experience you would get if you were using a visual reader for this thing.
So not a lot different than regular Facebook.
Just spewing crap characters all over the screen. Now this one is a little bit of a deep read. This is not the headline I clicked when I wanted this story. I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but it goes back to everything that's wrong with Facebook.
This is amazing. Facebook tried to make its platform a healthier place. It got angrier instead, and when their CTO realized what he'd done, he decided to leave.
Whoops, I'm out.
No, seriously, they looked at their stuff and they said, all right, let's actually try to come together as human beings and make our algorithm more healthy. Let's try to, de-emphasize sort of the negativity and de-emphasize this, that, and the other. What are we left with? And it turns out it's outrage. Outrage is what we're left with. So by toning down all of the other stuff, the only thing that was left was outrage. And so people will really engage with things that outrage them, and that's what the algorithm optimized for.
And they pointed out the number one posts during that time, and it was just anger. People were like, yes, I identify with this. And Facebook couldn't figure out, how can we stop this? Well, step one, stop existing. You're a big part of it. And this one, so this is, a lot of people don't like the Daily Beast. I get it. But this is Daily Beast by way of New York Magazine. And
it really is in the book. You can go read it on Google excerpts.
Well, it is in the book, but Zuckerberg has denied it.
But it's in the book.
And it's somebody else's word against his. I don't know if they have any like actual documents or anything. But still a great headline.
Peter Thiel claimed that Zuckerberg agreed to push, quote-unquote, state-sanctioned conservatism under Trump deal, the book says. So the book is from Peter Thiel, and it describes a meeting where the Zuck and everybody else sort of come together. It's like, how do we, make this a more even playing field? Because it's like, it's sort of feeling like Facebook is super left-wing, very anti-right-wing. What's the deal with that? Because there are a lot of conspiracy theories that don't belong anywhere, but at the same time, there's a lot of other hanky-panky going on, and then like maybe the conspiracy theories on the blue side are maybe ignored. Where's the happy medium? How does this balance? And so Peter Thiel says that Zuckerberg was just straight up like, you know what? You come up with something that's reasonable, and we'll do it.
Zuckerberg says no.
Yeah.
You think we may have seen some of that in some of those emails that came out?
I don't know. It says it was an in-person meeting. He might have been super paranoid about those kind of things.
We could see that, especially with Trump. Right?
Yeah.
Be careful about that.
Because he would just, take the email, print it out, and go wave it around the next day.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
Just like,
he loves it.
Which press conference?
I think that was the greatest quality Trump had. Is that
he couldn't keep a secret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was willing to let us see everything.
That's sort of bad from an international secret standpoint. It's like, are you sabotaging our nuclear plants? I don't know. Probably. It's like, oh.
I'll take it. It's that old argument, like, how much of the population do you have to keep in the dark?
Yeah.
But the number's too high right now.
Yeah.
We're at like 99.99999.
Well, we'll get a story about that nuclear thing later, too. And it's just like, oh, wow, that's scary.
So TikTok is the hot new social media platform. There's no question about that. If you're on the others, I got bad news for you. You're no longer relevant.
You're old.
And these guys have taken the Reddit way of doing things and improved it a little bit.
NPR has the story about TikTokers that are trading stocks by copying what members of Congress do. See, our members of Congress are required to disclose what trades they make and also what trades their spouses make. And they're strictly just following what trades the politicians make, and they're up a lot. Pelosi is particularly good. I'm going to have to look into this because, oh boy, she knows exactly what stocks to trade.
Yeah, but here's the thing about it. Pelosi's husband is an investment banker. These are his trades. He is an insider, more than she is. Now, I'm sure he has information from her, no question about it. But don't pick a random politician. Use Pelosi.
Big brain move.
Also, that is public information. This guy has just figured out the API, or maybe if there's not an API, he's scraping something and built an app off of it. Absolute genius.
Yeah.
How will they punish him? They'll find a way.
Right now, they're looking at how to hide that data, right?
Oh,
I bet they'll
absolutely.
do one of those things where it's like, remember the tax code stuff? They're going to try to make you pay for it after this.
I don't know if it was this article, but there was another thing. There was a rabbit hole I went down with this, and it was maybe a post on Reddit by that guy. And he said that in the beginning, they were filing the paperwork like a week to 2 weeks after it happened. And now the paperwork is showing up on the last day that it's because you're required to do it within 30 days. And
45.
or 45. And it's like it's the last day every time now.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's still a long enough timeline.
Yeah.
In most cases, which is hilarious. What does she know?
She knows that they know. But does she know that they know that we know?
She does now. Assuming she gets... I assume she probably has a Google alert for her name, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But this is maybe we could pull together the Level 1 retirement fund that's just exploiting the system like this. Maybe it would, I don't know. Be kind of funny.
Let's enumerate the things that the Chinese youth are no longer allowed to do. Play video games, get tutored after school.
You state-sponsored tutors only, no private tutors.
I don't think they've got that together yet, have they?
Well, you know.
Right now you're in limbo. You're like, I want to learn, and it's illegal. Wasn't there something else? They're not allowed to go to those like gaming cafes. I guess that's the same as the
Yeah, gaming.
ban. But now there's one more on the list.
Chinese version of TikTok is limiting kids to 40 minutes a day. This seems not fair because I would rather have gaming 40 minutes a day than TikTok.
Yeah, but you're not a young Chinese person. I bet they're different about
What
that.
are they? I mean, not saying it's necessarily a bad thing that they're not spending all their time playing video games and browsing TikTok, but like, what do they think the kids are going to do if
No,
they don't have any other things to do?
Forwarding the message and the agenda of the party. That's what all this is about.
Yeah.
You should not have any time, Krista, because you should be focused on communism.
But you can't even do your education stuff, so it's like they're going to get into something.
No, they're going to take care of that. They'll give you the education.
They're going to get into something.
It'll be 996 except for re-education
Yeah, maybe.
instead of labor.
That's probably what they're aiming for eventually. But like kids here, there's nothing for kids to do that doesn't cost like a lot of money. And most of those kids just get into drugs. So is that going to happen in China?
If you can't find anything else to do at all, if you are completely just like sitting there staring at the wall, just gather up some rocks, head down to the Uyghur camp, just throw rocks at them. Kids love that, right?
They'll start seeding that into their TikTok recommendations in the darker timeline. Actually, we're already in the darkest timeline, so that's probably already happening.
It is really terrifying.
Twitter went back in time a little bit because there was a time when Twitter was like, yeah, the sky's the limit. And then,
I feel like they got the short end of the stick on this one.
Well, you're a Twitter shill, obviously. But other social media companies were coming around, and Twitter's meteoric growth, I guess the meteor goes the other way, doesn't it? Just couldn't stick around, but they didn't say it that way. They pulled a Musk.
Twitter to pay $809 million, 809.5, to settle a 2016 lawsuit over growth projections. The social network has changed a lot since 2016. So, yeah, growth sort of plateaued. And they said, no, we're going to keep growing. It's going to be amazing. Invest. And they didn't make any money. Daily active users.
Yeah, and they expected a massive increase, and they got pretty much nothing. It was kind of flat. They still made money, but a lot of the investors were like, you lied to us.
Having to pay $1 billion, though, that's a little excessive.
Couldn't happen to nicer people. The YouTube algorithm continues to strike out, and it's funny because even when you have a fairly recognizable name, this just shows you that it is literally impossible to fight the algorithm. Once the algorithm has made a decision, there is no way to change it.
Yeah, YouTube and the Ig Nobel Prizes in the year 1914. So there's an out-of-copyright recording from the year 1914, and the Ig Nobel people used it in their video. And it was copyright claimed by like 17 different corporations. And that's still unresolved. The way they resolved it was they re-recorded their own version of that, which ironically is copyrighted, but, not the out-of-copyright version. This is a common problem on YouTube. There's pretty much anything on the Internet Archive that is out of copyright and in the public domain will still be claimed by somebody. And, even though we have this wonderful repository on the Internet Archive where we could actually make some, listings and be like, all right, this is classical music that was recorded at the turn of the century. You can tell by the record pops. It's probably not in copyright anymore. Let's not let record companies claim that.
Oh,
Did it go down the wrong pipe?
I did.
It's not the thing.
Sorry, chap. There is an immediate and obvious solution here, and that is false claims should be punished.
They're not.
It would solve everything. But they're not, and they never will be. Because guess what? Guess who writes the laws? This is my favorite story of the week, which might sound weird, but I remember when I first got my first little Android phone there, and I was like, oh, let's see what Android's all about. And I was like, that's weird. I don't see a file system browser. Let me Google how to breach the file system browser on the Android phone.
No, you don't get that.
You don't.
And I was astonished to find out that they're just like, nah, you don't need to touch that. Have you seen the cloud? And I was like, no, this is never going to work, is it? Well, it worked. And now, how many years later, this is where we are.
File Not Found, a generation that grew up with Google, is forcing professors to rethink their lesson plans. So this story talks about how a bunch of this professor's students didn't understand how to open a file or save a file or manipulate files. It's like all the files that you need are here. Click this link, do stuff with it. It's like, I don't know.
And you're thinking, oh, what are these? Were these guys in the basket weaving program? No, astrophysics. Astrophysicists don't understand file systems and directory structures.
I mean, it makes sense. Apple and Google have both gone out of their way to hide that from you, but
And people don't use desktops as much anymore.
or they only use their desktop. It's like, no, I need all my stuff. Or they use trash as an organization thing. No, I keep it in trash so that it's not on the desktop. It's like,
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, did people just not use folders at all? Because
it only
that's how
gives me the one. I can't
Yeah.
make another one, obviously.
It doesn't really give you that option.
ugh,
Yeah.
that's chaotic.
It disgusts me and it makes me sad for the world, but at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh, that's job security, isn't it?
It's like, did you know that you can have your stuff automatically organize things into folders based on like what it is, where you got it, who it came from? You can do that automatically, and then it's all organized and ready to go for you at any time.
Now that I think about it, when I did a web design, I was like the tutor for it. That was like the number one thing people would mess up was file directories. Like they're like, my image doesn't work. And I'm like, did you check the path? No.
What's a path?
Yeah.
Pat, are we going somewhere? Are we taking a walk?
No, I didn't check that. Then I was like, well, check it and make sure it's the right one. Oh, that was it. Every time. Almost every time.
Disgusting.
What do we got for next time?
Business and the next small this week. I don't know if we've ever done this before. We probably have at least once, but nonsense is the biggest section this week.
Yeah.
There was a lot of nonsense stories this week. We've also got I've got several Facebook Marketplace fines.
You didn't send them.
No, they're in the thing. Oh my
Oh,
voice is
okay.
getting raspy.
Did you
Sorry.
add them later?
Yeah, I added them right before I came over.
No, I didn't see them.
Well, that'll be exciting. Stay
Yeah.
tuned for that. That happens. Well, we should probably do that on Wednesday.
Yeah, probably. If nonsense
Tomorrow.
is huge. Yeah.
Tomorrow will be the day that you get to see the Facebook Marketplace finds.
Woo! Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. Today's September 29th, and we're doing business and security and a Facebook Marketplace find.
At the end,
At the very end.
you got to stick around for that. That's the dessert.
It's a weird dessert.
Let's start out with Microsoft. They had a big event and they announced a bunch of new stuff. They've got their foldy phone, but it's not as exciting as the other foldy phone. It's just a hinge fold.
Yeah, Microsoft debuts the Surface Duo 2 dual-screen Android phone with a larger display and 5G.
Ooh.
The display doesn't fold; it's just two displays.
Just a phone sandwich.
Okay. It's something, I guess.
How about this, Krista? That's going to cost you $14.99.
Well, that's what the original Surface Duo was. However, they had some at our local Staples. Staples, yeah. And it was like $300, and I was like, that's really like on fire sale. I should totally get that. But that was just a couple of months ago. So I would be tempted to get this to try it, but not for $1,500. My God.
Gotta check the marketplace for it.
Somebody bought it. Was like, this is just trash.
I mean, it's still going to be a garbage Android phone once that wears off, once the novelty of that is gone.
Yeah.
So,
But think how cool you'll look in a meeting when you get to slap it shut.
Although one of the guys got the folding note, I guess is what it was, it's got a big screen, and he's learned to use it really well, and it is actually like, it's tempting because he can use it really well, and it actually works shockingly well because it's like you got the giant screen.
well, if you'd like a new laptop with a giant screen and a lot of interesting, powerful new features, but with a powerful price tag as well, you might want to take a look at this.
The Surface Studio laptop is Microsoft's new powerful flagship laptop. So this is a laptop that can convert to a tablet, but it's got a weird sort of folding hinge mechanism thing. So it's fixed. The screen's not removable like the old Surface Book, but it can flip around the other way.
They don't call it a tablet because it's heavy and thick.
THICC.
Very thick. But it's got Thunderbolt 4 and discrete GPU, and the GPU can never be unplugged, and yeah.
Yep. No interest in those Surface laptops, but this one, I'd want this. This I very much want.
The Surface Pro 8 is a media-centric 13-inch tablet with a 128 hertz Dolby Vision display. This one doesn't have Thunderbolt, does it?
Yeah, it does.
It does. Okay, that's good. Because I didn't think they were ever going to put Thunderbolt on their Surfaces. I wanted Thunderbolt on the Surface Pro 4 versions ago. And finally, they're just adding it.
I think that's one of the few things that they did over the last version. Obviously, you know, the upgraded hardware. They said it's going to be twice as fast. But make the bezel smaller, add Thunderbolt 4.
And RAM. You can get up to 32 gigs of RAM now.
They did something else too, wasn't it?
LTE.
Oh, the display.
Oh, yeah, the display.
120 hertz display.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I actually priced them, and if you go for the i7 with the lowest amount of storage, it's right at $1,500. So you could either have that phone or this
Yeah.
PC.
This is an order of magnitude better, at least.
Yeah. Those, it's hard to catch those with any kind of discount, though.
Yeah.
Microsoft they know what they got.
Yeah.
Well, this was certainly a big story, wasn't it? Talk about just grinding it out.
Now, it's funny, though, because if you read the court transcripts, the judge actually asked Apple about this before the thing. It's like, now, Apple, depending on which way I rule, because this is before the ruling, it was, is Epic allowed back? Well, I won't spoil it.
Well, I think everybody already knows the answer.
Yeah.
And Tim Sweeney was the one to uncover this. We know that it's definitely true.
He angry tweeted it. Bloomberg reports that Apple has banned Fortnite until all appeals are exhausted in lawsuit, probably about 5 years. Now, what I was saying was that before the judge rules, the judge said, is it anything other than Epic? And Apple's lawyer said in the court case that Epic would be welcome back as long as they're willing to follow the rules. That is, in fact, not true.
But the thing that was unspoken there was if we unilaterally win this case.
Yeah. They did not unilaterally win. They mostly won, though.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. Has to be obvious.
Yeah, and that's why I saw this coming, which is why I said that Epic was able to give everybody else what they will never be able to obtain because they're not going back into the App Store.
Yeah, and what are the odds that Fortnite is relevant when all these appeals are done?
Probably not great.
It can't. I mean, I'm amazed it's still going on right now.
Although they are going in a different direction with respect to they're doing the copy protection client for Linux, which I never thought that Epic would do, and they're also thinking maybe about launching an Epic Games launcher for Linux.
But that's a minuscule market share.
Yeah, but it's going to get the headlines.
I guess. I don't think that the same people who will be happy about that are the people who are going to be angry about iOS not having Fortnite. That's a Venn diagram that does not touch. And when it comes to Apple, maybe you're on their side here, because, both companies here behaved poorly. And they did have a contract, and Epic did violate it. But if you're an Apple fanboy and you're like, oh, they're fine.
You should watch these.
These videos
will make you angry.
This is like the Purdue Pharma videos. That's but it won't have that the same way that the Purdue Pharma videos never changed anything.
Aren't these opiates addictive? No, less than 1/10%.
Oh, there's certainly not. You can take all the OxyContin you want, you'll have no side effects, and you can only use the authorized parts. If you use any other kind of glass on an iPhone, it will burst into flames. Those are two absolute truths.
Leaked Apple training videos show how it undermines third-party repair. 8 leaked training videos show how Apple instructs its repair partners to buy expensive parts when cheap ones will do. This coaches the repair people on what to say to customers when they say things like, but can't I get this piece of touch glass from the guy down the road for like $20? Isn't it basically the same? It's the touch glass. All it is just the touch glass. And Apple can say, no, that's not a genuine Apple part.
Well, they never say no. They're very careful about not saying no.
Because you don't want them to throw into a tantrum in the middle of the store.
Yeah, the overwhelming majority of the training videos are not like how to fix the phone. It's this conversation tree of how to counter every argument, every reasonable argument on why they would go next door and pay a third of the price for that same piece of glass.
Yeah.
That's the training video. It's got to be soul crushing. I mean, look, if you repair Apple equipment for a living, you deserve what you get. But it's got to be soul crushing.
I don't know. Louis Rossmann he does okay, but yeah, his soul's definitely crushed.
So I'm not
it's folded a little bit.
I'm not on that bandwagon. It drives me crazy, the sycophant behavior with that.
Well, yeah.
And you know, when you have he has a very, very high level of skill, so he's able to maybe like get above all the noise.
It really is insane.
But the average Apple repair is not him.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're gonna have to deal with that. The same way that if you have a really, really high level of skill with the blockchain, you can pretty much get a really good job.
Tracking stolen cryptocurrency is turning into big business. How blockchain somethings are tracking down digital loot.
Sleuths, I think, is the word that you're missing there.
Yeah. So this talks about it was the coin where a bunch of it was stolen Tether, but then the exchanges all banded together before the Tether could be. So they invalidated it and gave the original owners, and then the people that stole it actually gave it up voluntarily. So they were able to get everything back, but it was a really interesting case study in the mechanism of like, how do you recover stolen cryptocurrency? What can you do? What are the options?
And they say that it's all about the response time. So somebody was monitoring and actually figured this out the next day or the same day or something like that. And they have this, it's kind of like a murder. The longer they have to get that money out of there, the less chance you have of solving it or getting it back. And here they were just like, oh, there it is, go get it. They canceled the trades. But there's also an argument against the centralization of something like Tether, because they can do that. If they want to, they can change it.
How long before the State Department asks, someone to reverse a transaction that benefited, a country on the naughty list?
That is a negative amount of time. They have done that. TSMC, they make chips, and if you're not aware, making chips
Printing money.
It's a dirty business. Well, printing money is, it's basically printed with resources, natural resources.
Yeah.
You take beautiful, clean water and air and human life, and you smush it into these little wafers.
Goes into basically a food process.
and they're so good. We love them so much. But they take a lot of pressure for that. They point out that a digital device, about 70% of the cost to the earth for that device comes before it's sold.
Yeah.
So like you're charging and running stuff, and this is true for your car as well, the damage is already done. So what can you do? Well, they've set a date. What worries me about this date is I wonder if the T in TSMC will still be there in 2050.
Yeah.
I think that's what's at risk here.
The entire rest of the planet had better hope so. World's largest chip foundry, TSMC, sets a 2050 deadline to go carbon neutral.
For reference, I'll be 60 years old in 2050. So, only 30 years from now.
Good Lord. That's a lot of carbon, though. I mean, that's basically planting Brazil every time they, every year, I guess.
But they've got this carbon capture stuff now. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
But apparently, for a fairly low price per chip, I think it's on the magnitude of like $20.
Capture it. They're already working on dealing with the wastewater better. Like you can scrub the wastewater, but it's still not quite as pure as like the original water. And they're working on waste capture there as well, because semi-manufacturing uses an insane amount of water, but depending on what processor you use, you can reuse the water. You just got to make dang sure that it's super clean.
Well, Amazon, we know that they kicked off a massive, massive hiring wave, especially going into the holidays with the supply chain such that it is. I think they know how crazy it's going to get. And I think this headline and this behavior from them is directly related to what they're seeing during that hiring blitz. Because I think they're turning away a lot of talent that they wish they weren't.
Amazon says that workers and applicants that have been fired or otherwise barred during the marijuana screening are now eligible for employment. So if you were a driver and you got kicked out for drug screening, come back, please. There's no one else. We're sorry.
And they are going to lobby for the legalization so that they can maintain that, because they churn a lot of workers.
Yeah.
You need a constant churn.
It's sad that's what it took, right?
Well, the question is, How quickly will that happen? I think it's probably inevitable at this point, right?
Yeah.
But the powers that be, especially the DEA, could stretch it out for another 5 to 10 years.
Also, if you look at it from the shoe on the other foot, how insane is it that you literally can't find enough people that have the minimum level of talent necessary to be an Amazon delivery driver? Do you think maybe you're expecting too much of your delivery drivers? Maybe scale back on the number of packages that they're expected to deliver?
We have a story about that later.
Yeah, and after reading that story, I would try almost anything else.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably rather work fast food.
Yeah.
So there is that.
So again, they are probably expecting too much of their drivers and employees.
They say that they're going to do they're not going to screen obviously anymore, but they are going to do some kind of observing during the workday to make sure that you're not high. And I wonder if somebody's working on the wristband algorithm to try and detect slowdown or something.
I think it probably goes far beyond that. In 5 or 10 years, it'll be an almost unrecognizable position. They're going to be wearing an augmented reality thing, and they're going to turn the smile into some sort of augmented reality companion, and it's like, gee, Timmy, don't you think you're going a little fast? Or, gee, Timmy, if you put the large packages toward the driver's front as you load the van, you'll have an easier time unloading it as you do whatever.
And you can't take it off.
Yeah. No,
it's like the bracelet or the ankle bracelet they give you when you're a drunk driver.
Yeah.
So you're at home and it's like, Timmy, you've packed that bong 6 times tonight already. Don't you think you should slow down? You got work tomorrow.
It should say G every time, like in a really happy, bright voice, but then a robotic voice says your name.
Yeah.
G, Timmy.
Oh, I thought
we should do a skit with this.
I thought you were doing G as in gangsta.
No. G-E-E.
Timmy, you're a solid G, but you got to slow down on the weed, man.
I don't like it when you're like this.
When you need to go on a bathroom break, it doesn't turn off. It just goes to sleep, and there's a countdown timer in the corner of your peripheral vision.
And if you don't finish by the time that counter is done, it starts broadcasting.
Oh.
And the bad thing about that is if you cut it too close, the broadcast starts mid-wipe. It's the worst one.
Oh, God. Don't give them ideas. They're probably already like, man, that's a great idea.
I mean, it's definitely going to come to that, where there's definitely, like when you're working fast food or whatever, your training is literally going to be, an augmented reality animated companion in your peripheral vision that's just telling you what to do. It's coming.
Why spend money on that when you can just get rid of the worker entirely?
Well, we actually already knew about this, but we didn't know all the details because we learned a while back that a lot of Chinese brands on Amazon were just simply disappearing. And I actually experienced this as it happened. So I bought one of those lithium battery tire inflators, like an emergency tire inflator. And I was like, I'll just use this to top off my truck tires because they're old. And I popped it on there, turned it on, and it had to move it like 5 PSI. And I was doing yard work. So I was like, all right, I'll hop over here and do this yard work. And then I'll let this finish. I came back, it was on fire. And I went to Amazon to leave a bad review. Gone.
Wow.
The whole company was just gone.
Wow.
Because?
That should have gone on Twitter. Amazon says it's permanently banned 600 Chinese brands for review fraud. Chinese companies knew what they were doing, a spokesperson says. They incentivize reviews, things like gift cards or promotion, loyalty. Sometimes
or
they would
just get it for free, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they would just email people and be like, order it and we'll send you a thing and you get a credit.
I definitely recognize Alki and MPOW.
Oh, yeah, we've ordered those because people have ordered DisplayPort cables that were those, and we're like, why doesn't the KVM work? And it's like...
The tire inflator I was using was Tack Life. It's another big offender. So it wasn't... Mostly it was this review fraud garbage. It wasn't just that the products are terrible, but they are literally just flaunting the rules. I've gotten these before too.
Can you send me that DisplayPort 1.4 cable and I get it? And it's like, this isn't even to 1.1 spec. Come on. This doesn't even work.
And Amazon, we know, is trying to expand globally. And in a lot of the other markets of the world, things are done a little bit differently. And by that I mean bribes. Bribes are required. And everybody there is just like, yeah, that's how we do business. But the corporate structure is inflexible when it comes to that.
Amazon starts a probe over bribe to government officials by its lawyers in India, a report says. Yeah, my takeaway from this is somebody didn't get the memo, and that's how things work over there.
Well, or they all understand it, but then somebody found out, and they were like, we better do some lip service for this.
Let's get a headline out
Yeah.
so people think that we care.
That is, of course, very important to them. I'd say other than China, that's probably the most important market, right?
Yeah. 1 billion people online almost. In
All
India.
right. You got to think Amazon cares way, way more about India than Google cares about Russia. And look what Google's willing to do for Russia. And the local people in India, the local administrators, I'm sure they know that. And they expect their bribes.
Yeah.
PayPal has been talking about getting into crypto, and they did. And they've been talking about getting into pay later and all this stuff and person-to-person payments. And they had a bunch of different products going on, and they were like, you know what? We got to bring all these together. And I'm sure it works flawlessly, and there's nothing bad about it.
PayPal launches its super app combining payment, savings, bill pay, crypto shopping, and more. Now, this is a fun article, and you should definitely think about that. PayPal basically just wants to be your payment destination. That's nothing new. But in a world where Google Pay has screwed up as badly as they have, do you think that if Google Pay had gotten it right, there would be any room in the market for something like this from PayPal?
Also, this is a single point of failure. If you
Yeah.
put everything in this,
Yeah.
you're in trouble. What if you lose your phone?
I wouldn't trust PayPal for that. Google I might trust, but not PayPal.
I don't know that I'd trust anybody for
You're
that.
going to
but-
trust Google with that?
Not everything, but like for NFC payments and like you're going like everyday payments where you go somewhere to like a gas station or something like that. Using something like Google could be advantageous because dealing with fraud and blah blah blah.
You're going to let Google hold your crypto?
No,
That's part of it.
well,
YouTube, we remember that Google very heavy-handedly tried to destroy YouTube DL. And they learned something that day. They learned that there is a limit to what people will tolerate. And I think that maybe this is the reason they tried to do that originally.
YouTube tests video downloads for your desktop browser. YouTube Premium members can test the feature for a limited time. It works just like downloading in Netflix. It's actually inside the application, inside the browser. It doesn't give you files. It doesn't let you, move something from one device to another. It's literally just so you can watch later with no buffering. That's it. It's the only reason.
And it probably won't even work if it can't call home, right?
Probably
So if
not.
your internet was down, you probably still couldn't do it.
Spotify doesn't work that way, though. Spotify you can download, and you don't get the files, but you can still listen to it without an internet connection.
Yeah, it's very similar. And maybe they will do it that way, but it's almost exactly like the Spotify thing, where you're basically just caching.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a big cache. A 100% cache. And Netflix, much like Amazon, wants to expand into the rest of the world. But how do you penetrate a market where people have very low incomes and pretty much do everything on mobile? Well, they have a good plan.
Netflix launches free plan in Kenya to boost growth. The paid plan is $3 a month, but the free plan, which includes some relatively inexpensive stuff that basically just upsells you on Netflix's other stuff, you just have to have mobile data in order to watch it. And oh boy, it's low resolution.
But you're watching it on a phone anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
So it's not the whole library. Obviously, it's a cherry pick stuff. Like probably the stuff that's going to make you most likely to. Do you think they give you season 1 or maybe just episode 1 of a lot of stuff?
Yeah, that would be.
Try to lure you in.
I don't understand why Netflix doesn't, like all the back catalog of like Nick at Night. I don't know why they don't just buy that, because that stuff's got to be super cheap. Like like Green Acres and Get Smart and.
I'm sure has Nickelodeon started their own streaming service at this point, like everybody else?
Well, but are you still okay? If you do that, then you're able to sell like 4 things. You can sell gold, catheters, diabetic testing strips,
Right.
and life insurance. What other advertiser cares about that?
Yeah, it's Kenya. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll really like Mary Tyler Moore or something. We'll see.
Maybe. I think you're
Or it'll be like
underestimating.
Korean dramas. There's a lot of Korean dramas on Netflix.
Is Dick Van Dyke still alive?
I think the Kenyans are probably aware of popular shows in U.S. culture and other Western cultures.
How crazy
Maybe
would
a
it be
few.
if they're watching like I Love Lucy or the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they're just like, "Is this what married life is in America?"
They
Why are they
sleep in 2
sleeping-
separate beds. Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Well, much like PayPal, Amazon, Apple has done it, Google has done it, obviously with Google Pay, several companies. They're all looking for ways to get into being your money manager. Not necessarily your bank, But it's like, oh, yeah, you can buy all these products and then we'll just charge you for it later. Or, we'll give you all these financial products. And you no longer need the infrastructure that you used to have to do that, which is probably making the banks a little worried.
Banks beware. Outsiders are cracking the code for finance. I get the feeling this Reuters article was written after having read what PayPal was doing and saying, oh, that could work. Also, the Goldman Sachs thing, they didn't mention it in the article, but the Goldman Sachs Apple, unholy alliance would definitely be a good one to mention because Apple has really insane margins, and Goldman Sachs wants people that can't afford an iPhone to buy an iPhone so that they make insane money from interest and penalties from people missing payments. But Goldman Sachs doesn't want to be on the hook for the full value of the phone. So we have this unholy incest between Apple and Goldman Sachs, where Goldman Sachs is not on the hook for the full value of the iPhone, but Apple will at least get the money that it's invested in the iPhone back. So they basically split the profits, but they also split the risk. But it's really no risk for Apple.
But who was it that bought the buy now, pay later thing recently? They're trying to acquire it, but they showed those statistics that 70% of those people are underwater.
Yeah.
So I guess owning the debt is useful. It's an interesting business because you can still make money after you lose on loans, which is crazy.
Well, it's not. You got to keep. You almost have to keep two sets of books because. Yeah. Well, I mean that's how it works with the Apple thing. It's plain. It's plain to see because the amount of money that it costs to actually produce the product and the amount of money that you actually expect to make on the product are two wildly different things. And if you make the money that it actually cost you back, but you didn't make all the money that you said you were going to make, you could still declare it as a loss, but in reality, you're still making money hand over fist.
We see a lot of these stories, and this is a cautionary tale, and here's what you should take away from this, and that is, no matter how much you trust another human being, you should never let someone else manage your phone.
No.
Yeah.
Under any circumstance, because this might happen, and this is a horrible thing.
A stalkerware firm is leaking real-time screenshots of people's phones online. PC Tattletale, which markets itself for monitoring spouses without their consent, lets anyone view screenshots of the infected devices just by visiting specific URLs.
Do you think they got together and they're like, all right, that's our marketing push. Now, are we going to market this as something to use with or without consent? So it is just when you are using the stalkerware thing, it'll take screenshots and it'll send you the URL. That URL consists of a unique identifier for that phone and a timestamp. Now, if you know one and can guess the other just by iterating, you can eventually find all the screenshots.
Yay! If only someone could write a program to do that. Oh, wait, that's exactly what
already
happened.
exists.
Well, but it is a timestamp. That is a lot of API hits. They might notice.
Or not.
But if you knew roughly what time it was, it'd be a lot easier. And even if you are very careful with your phone and all of your electronics, you probably are still being spied upon, especially if you work for a big tech company.
How Google spies on its employees. This is an article about Google's security team and how even if you're doing, innocent things, you can still be spied upon because it's like, wait a minute, that person is looking at things through an encrypted messaging app. Are they leaking stuff? Oh, no, they're just using Signal to talk to their friends. All right, that's cool.
But if you have Signal open while you take a screenshot, you are immediately flagged. You will get a talking to about that. Hey, why did you have Signal open? Hey, what were you taking a screenshot of?
The article made it sound like they would just go look themselves. Like, oh, that's a flagged thing we need to go look at. And it's like,
check it out.
I like the photo for this article because it's like a children's kindergarten classroom. It shows you a lot about how they think about their employees.
Well, that's how they're treating them, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they did mention that somebody they just showed up later and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Do you think the Google augmented reality helper AI will be more or less condescending than the one from Amazon?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know exactly what Google is worried about because this is a big problem, especially when you're in a company. I mean, we learned earlier that sometimes you'll do something and your people are like, "Wait a minute, what? Putin is a dictator. What are you doing?" And it's like, shut up, children. Don't tell people about this.
Mac Rumors reports that Apple CEO Tim Cook, in a leaked memo, it's like, we are doing everything in our power to identify the leakers. So it's like, I don't think anybody belongs at Apple that is leaking stuff to the press. That memo was, in fact, leaked to the press, which is delightful.
I would recommend one way that they might be able to find this person is by just finding the person with overwhelmingly giant balls. To do this,
Look for the guy with the wheelbarrow.
like they made a memo about leakers and you're going to leak it? Ah, that is legendary. You know that
I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be like, wow.
and it could be a woman. I'm not trying to gender it. That's just my joke. But do you think they had a little smile on their face when they hit send?
Yeah, they definitely did.
Get shit on.
Yeah, take that, Timmy. Take that. And we got a fantastic new feature in the new iOS. God, it's so important.
The iOS 15.1 beta lets users add their Vax card to their wallet app because Apple definitely needs to know that.
For when we get our own Uyghur camps.
It's coming.
It is coming. I'm watching it. Believe me. I'm watching it circle around me. And here's one that's terrifying. Now, it doesn't sound terrifying if you read the TechCrunch article, but think about this. Just think forward a little bit of what might come of this. Now, much like the CSAM. CSAM? Is that it?
Yeah.
Much like the CSAM thing, they're like, no. This only happens on the phone. Don't worry. We would never look at this.
Apple is reportedly working on mental health monitoring using iPhone data. Now, that's exact. The article has. You should go read the article. There's a lot of cool, interesting stuff there. But I want you to also imagine the Apple Watch and all of your physiological data combined with that. Now, in this episode, we've been talking about like the augmented reality AI helpers. Imagine that Apple has their own augmented reality AI helper. Do you think we'll see a future where you're going on Amazon Shift and you're wearing your Apple Watch and you're starting to get stressed out because the Amazon AI is giving you a hard time? And then the Apple AI pops up and vouches for you. And it's like, you're really stressing him out. You got to calm down.
Now, okay, add another layer of what we've been talking about today. And your credit app is also in that conversation. It's like, I don't know.
We got to revise your credit score downward based on your...
I'm losing confidence here.
Yeah, that's basically coming.
Gee, Timmy, it looks like you're going into a spiral.
Do you need a prescription for some meds?
Timmy, you haven't eaten in days. Would you like to buy some crypto?
Why don't you make an Amazon purchase? You'll feel better about it.
Even though he has to ship it himself.
Yeah.
And that, again, adds to his misery. Well, the big tech companies have figured out it is cheaper just to pay these people when they find bugs than to have the bug come out in the wild. It's a smart thing to do. It's good for the ecosystem. Everybody benefits. They can afford it. But Apple, as usual, a little stingy. They did it, but they were just like, maybe you don't deserve all of it.
Researcher discloses iPhone lock screen bypass on iOS 15 launch day. Oh, read the tweet. We got to read the tweet here. In hopes that Apple realizes that it's being a tightwad rewarding security bug reports and reconsider the bounties. I'm going to give away the lock screen bypass working in iOS 14.8 and 15. Yes.
So he was expecting $25,000, which is their usual bug bounty, and he said, well, this is high severity, right?
No.
I can break the lock screen. I can get into your phone. And they gave him $5,000.
I thought they were paying out like $1 million for like the Pegasus type malware. No?
You could certainly, I'm sure there are several Israeli firms that would pay a lot more than $5,000 for this.
Yeah.
A lot more.
There's another bug in Safari in a share feature. If you use redirects cleverly, it will redirect to the wrong website. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to pay out the bounty on that, but I submitted it.
Should have been like this guy and
they don't
tweeted.
care.
They don't care at all about that. Yeah. Well, piracy continues to be a contentious thing. I think we have actually kind of like, we've hit a sort of a stride with piracy, right? Like most stuff is convenient enough that you don't have to pirate it. But it's always going to be there.
I think it's creeping back up with all the subscription services again.
Yeah, you know what? You got a good point about that because they've taken the Netflix model where everybody was like, yeah, okay. All right, what, $12 a month? All right.
And like everything's there.
Yeah. But now it's more like, if you want a really good selection, what, like $70 a month?
Yeah, and it's like, screw that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, you might if you start getting this happening to you.
Virgin Media subscribers told to pay thousands of pounds to settle piracy lawsuits. What?
So it's all based on IP address that it's tied to a Virgin ISP account. So they just send whoever owns the account the letter, and they're like, we assume this is you. Give us money. If you want to fight it, then you got to either blame somebody else or say that it didn't happen or whatever. And then and there's the crazy thing about their courts. It's a 51% burden of proof. So if Virgin can convince, I don't know, if you think this would be a jury case? There's just a judge.
If it's a jury case, hopefully the jury is just like, no, this is dumb.
But you just have to convince them 51% that this person might have stolen something, and then they have to pay this crazy number. Or you can pay $1,000 and just get rid of it. VPNs, people, VPNs.
Although with the net flow data, with ISP selling net flow data, that doesn't work so good.
But in that case, you spend $1,000 to expose them. Come to us. You know what? Let us break that story. We might give you $1,000. And the EU is also a little bit upset. Krista, I think you brought this up.
Yeah.
When we first
that
talked
was the
about
first thing you said.
the Ray-Ban glasses. And I understand because you certainly are the only one at the table who might be a victim of this. Well, Wendell might in a weird way.
Facebook warned over very small indicator LED on smart glasses as EU DPAs flag privacy concerns.
Yeah, this is the indicator to show when you're being recorded by Facebook's new smart glasses, which are not augmented reality, not yet, but there's just a camera in there.
Creeps are going to creep, and this is going to make it easier for them to creep.
Listen, the algorithm has said that people really like voyeurism and feet pics, and maybe we can get both out of this one piece of technology.
I think the last time we talked about this, somebody brought up that a Sharpie would handle this.
Yeah.
And also that, like you say, there's no AR here, right? There's no VR. There's no AR. These are spy glasses.
Yeah.
That's what these are for.
We call it like we see it.
We have another big ransomware attack. This time, once again, or no, this wasn't ransomware. I'm sorry. This was just intrusion, but in a healthcare situation.
Alaska disclosed a sophisticated nation-state cyber attack on health service. It was not ransomware, but the attackers gained access to a lot of systems but didn't do anything to disrupt them, at least not yet. But they were detected, which is good.
Do you think when a non-Alaskan publication excuse me, has any non-Alaskan publication ever printed a story about Alaska with a picture from the summertime?
No.
Look how beautiful that is.
It's got to always, it is amazing.
Maybe that is the summertime.
No, I think it actually warms up a little bit in Alaska. It's for like a month or two.
They have a couple of months of really amazing weather and mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Seems like Alaska would be a good place to go work on your book.
Except for the mosquitoes. And this one is incredible because the big thing about this one is like, well, we kind of already knew that, but this is being applied to the image, not to you, to the image. Actually, it works both ways.
Researchers defeated advanced facial recognition using makeup. Look at that.
I mean, you wouldn't walk around like that. Or maybe you would.
In the Blade Runner universe, that's going to be in a new Blade Runner movie, right? Where there's some characters who have those kind of weird tattoos on their face.
Oh, man.
It would never detect Mike Tyson.
Wouldn't that be incredible if we had a whole generation of youth that just started painting their face weird like that?
Yeah.
Just to get away from the AI.
That belongs in some sort of dystopian like novel or movie.
The only way Timmy can get away from the Amazon AI is to paint his face, and then he's like, "Where'd you go, Timmy? I don't see you anymore."
Well,
so, shh.
Chrissy, you say it belongs in a dystopian movie or the current reality.
Yeah, or just reality.
Yeah.
Either one.
Which is exactly the same as the dystopian movie. Well, there was a man one time, a long time ago, who figured out a little loophole. And it wasn't really hacking. It was just bribing. But oh boy, did it work. And then it stopped working, but by that time he had a lot of resources. So he got more creative.
Man who unlocked nearly 2 million AT&T phones gets 12 years in prison. The 7-year scheme cost AT&T almost $200 million. Now,
that's one of those potential things, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that was the full retail value of an iPhone at like, $1,000 or $1,500 or something.
It was all. I think they counted the full amount, not necessarily what they lost to the amortizing monthly cost. But basically, what he's doing here is, when you buy a phone, you're not paying full price. Eventually, you pay way more than full price, but it's baked into your account. But if you just take that phone and go unlock it and go somewhere else with it, that's a cheap phone.
Yeah, which is what he was doing a lot.
Now, he was at first just bribing the guys at the place. But AT&T figured that out. Remember we did the SIM card hacking thing? And that was a big story. And so AT&T was like, ugh. So they went with the IMEI to try to fix that. And this guy just went nuclear and put malware on the servers through these same people that he bribed and started doing it internally himself. That's going to hurt his case. Well, it already did.
Yeah, he's in prison now.
And we have a lot of security companies. It seems like if you the way it goes, the workflow is like military, PMC, security company, Congress.
This was the NSA contractors from last week, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, weren't they ex-military though? A group of mercenaries. Yeah,
Great
yeah.
album.
So it was a combination of
okay.
But see, these security companies are always run by
the revolving
ex-military.
door.
Yeah. And so these guys merged. That's another big thing, merger and acquisition. You can create one of these security companies and it just gets gobbled up. It's like a tech startup. And they made a lot of money. But now it's coming out that maybe they did some things that weren't allowed.
The MIT Technology Review has some updates and some more details. This U.S. company sold iPhone hacking tools to United Arab Emirates spies. That was not okay, it turns out. The State Department has taken issue with this, and oh boy, there's criminal charges.
Yeah, they consider that the same as selling them missiles.
Munitions.
It's not okay.
They used to consider cryptography munitions. They still do in the case of Iran.
And of course, we found this stuff installed on some journalist's phone. Like the UAE, they got a lot of different spy stuff going on. Right? I mean, they're really diversifying their spying portfolio.
Morocco got this to put on the French president's phone.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How hard can it possibly be to get? I'm sorry, Morocco. I'm sorry, but how hard can it possibly be?
Well, I think these are turnkey services, right? These mercenaries are doing all the work.
If you have coin, Khajiit has spyware.
Yeah, exactly. And the LinkedIn hack, which we found out about, was that last week or week before?
It's been a couple of weeks ago.
We knew that it was
was
out
for
there.
sale.
Yeah, they were trying to sell it. It turns out no one cares because most of this is public data anyway.
Hackers have leaked the LinkedIn 700 million data point data scrape. So 700 million people, if your data was in LinkedIn, I'm so sorry. And also, I told you so.
But really the only thing that wouldn't have been publicly known here was your email address. But because some of these people are high-ranking CEOs, that could still be very annoying.
Yeah. Gonna email Tim Cook and be like, so, did you find the leaker yet?
Tim, I'm the leaker.
He's just taunting me.
Oh, and finally, here it is, chat. This one, I would love to say that I would love to tell you what this is. But we don't know. We assume that NFS means not for sale. Maybe just because it's so good. I don't know, but here it is.
It looks like some sort of something for the bar top.
This was a late contender. I saw this morning. I looked under the free section is where you find the particularly strange things on Marketplace, and this is marked free. NFS, I think, means not for sale.
You can just have this. Oh, what if it's a child's costume? A child's Halloween costume?
Is that what that's supposed to be, you think?
That armhole looks pretty small.
It would have to be for a child like of 7 or 8.
I mean, that's the SpongeBob demographic, though, right?
It looks like you can look through the eyes and the mouth, like the mesh. But for where the armholes are, that's maybe not the right place.
Not at all. The head would have to come out the top.
Yeah. It says condition used. Someone's used it.
But also, like the bottom there, like the lower part isn't large enough. He's all torso.
I don't know what it is.
Also, what kind of camera did they use to take this picture?
It's so grainy and so blurry.
This is the $100 Walmart phone running Android 4.
And they were like, should we move all this stuff off of this bench while we take the picture? No.
No, that's a reoccurring thing in Facebook Marketplace. It's always like, here's some shoes, and then it's like on this filthy floor or on like the sheets of a bed. It's like, why are you putting your shoes on your bed?
Yeah, I don't want to buy shoes from a dirty house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to buy used shoes at all.
Everything that you buy on Facebook Marketplace smells like smoker.
That's actually a big thing people will put in descriptions. It'll be like smoke-free, pet-free home.
I remember that was a big thing. Like people would get into fist fights back in the day if you showed up to a Beanie Baby exchange and your Beanie Babies smelled like smoke.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was not acceptable.
You know, I never see Beanie Babies on the marketplace. Now that I think about it.
Well, they don't have any value anymore, do they?
Yeah, probably not.
No, you know how I know they don't have any more value? There was an estate that was cleaned out, and there were some things left over after the sale, and it was a rather large number of Beanie Babies, and right into the dumpster they went.
I mean, kids could enjoy those, right?
Well,
Yeah, I had a handful when I was a kid, but I was allowed to play with them. We didn't collect them.
No, but I'm saying, like, aren't there some poor kids we could just give those to?
The starting bid was $5, and nobody wanted them. They're kind of grody.
Well, see, that's the thing.
They had been opened and, probably sitting out in the dust and smoke.
Yeah, dirty stuff.
But there were a lot of them.
Could you launder? Could you just throw those in the washing machine? Would they survive? You probably just have a bunch of little eyes floating around at the bottom at the end.
Somebody decided they weren't worth the effort. I mean, I would have probably dropped them off at Goodwill, but I don't know if, they would have survived. I don't know if that was... I don't know if anybody would have really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But they didn't look super bad, some of them, but... at the same time, it was like, wow, this was an auction that was online and in person, and nobody wanted these.
Do you think anybody wants this?
No.
Kill me. Why is there so much weird SpongeBob stuff on the marketplace?
Maybe
It's funny when you're on drugs.
Maybe it's easy to make that. If like.
I use it just a square, I guess.
Well, I started to make new foam things for the studio, and then I got distracted, and I haven't gone back to it.
I thought you were going to say, like, you're going to make a SpongeBob thing, and I was like, why?
No, I'm using leftover. We use rock wool insulation for the server closet, and I was going to try that because it seems like a really good sound baffle.
How many coffees have you had today?
Just the two that I've had here.
Oh, really? Because you're on fire, and, like, your leg is going right now. I can feel it.
I got to go potty.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that's the end of the episode.
See you guys. We'll see you on Friday. Bye.
And Linode is sponsoring us from October until the end of the year for Devember.
An exciting. Oh, wow. We're already there.
I know. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that the other day. I was like, I got to
How
start doing the
crazy.
Minecraft server stuff.
Now, should we do a different game this year?
We can solicit feedback from patrons and people on the forum, so let us know.
We're not doing Valheim.
No.
No,
we're not doing
Valheim's
Valheim.
too grindy, I
Yeah.
think. But
Minecraft is timeless in a way that Valheim just isn't.
no, not
But
yet.
what's hot right now? What can we host that's hot right now?
It doesn't even have to be hot right now. Minecraft is not hot right now, and yet it's still played by tens of millions of players.
Yeah. Well, with Minecraft, though, having a relatively small group of insanely dedicated individuals results in something cool.
Yes.
That would not be the case in Valheim.
Yeah, we're going to be preserving the Minecraft map, don't worry, and backing it up. I've made provisions so we'll be able to run it even on an upgraded server. I just got to dot some I's and cross some T's there, the infrastructure.
Perhaps we should stick with Minecraft. We'll start a new server.
But also we have to keep the old one.
But this year we give them a more structured goal.
I was gonna say, we talked about doing creative mode as well, because last year it was all survival, and like I thought that would slow them down. No. It didn't slow anybody down.
But I think we need that. If without that, what will happen? And they might just leave orbit. Because they're so crazy.
What one of the things that Mr. Beast did when he did a Minecraft thing was he gave everybody a plot of land, and it's like, this is your, here's your X and Y coordinates, but you can do whatever you want in your Z coordinates, but you can't go outside this plot of land, and that was pretty effective.
Well, our system had that inherently.
Well, you could claim it, but you had to log in.
Yeah, and you can also expand your claim, and
there were still ways to grief that. This was just
we
fixed.
can lock that down.
Okay.
But again, I think we should come up with a theme or a goal or something like that.
Probably.
They'll give them a task.
we had close to 100 entries last year. Like I had to make there was like an Excel file, and I went through and
Well,
like
listen.
recorded each one, and
We had over 250 participants. It's just they didn't all finish.
yeah, a lot of people started stuff and then
Yeah.
didn't enter officially.
Well, Krista, that's a good lesson. Block some time off.
Well, I did. It took a while. It was good.
Block some time off.
Let's
Let's talk about robots, and let's talk about FedEx, who has, I don't think they're the first to do this, but they're a big name, and they're going to start using autonomous trucks.
FedEx uses autonomous trucks for the first time on delivery route. If for no other reason, you should check out this article to watch the video. They do have a safety driver, but boy, these trucks really are doing well on interstate driving.
I don't know if that's the truck. I assume it is. Why else would they show us this picture? Now, this does look like a very friendly piece of road right here.
Yeah.
It's between Houston and, what was the other one?
Dallas. 500 miles round trip.
They will do it 3 times a week. You know what just occurred to me? I think you would be one of the least useful safety drivers. in the
Yes,
universe.
absolutely. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that as I was watching the video, which was, how did these people not go absolutely insane? I don't think I could find enough to keep my mind occupied to actually, have the road be driving. I could probably tell you the exact number of blue cars that there were on the entire trip, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Well, yeah, because you can't really split your attention that much. Like, you can't be just in the back of the cab, just like
No,
hanging out.
you have to be able to focus
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah, you have to be able to focus and not make decisions about driving the car, which I don't think I could do it.
Could be a fun video. But there is one job where you do have to pay a lot of attention, but it's even worse, and also because of AI.
Amazon's AI cameras are punishing drivers for mistakes they didn't make. Oh, it's that AI assistant. So a car cuts you off. That's their fault, right? Nope, that was your fault.
They also describe things like spending too long checking your side mirror if you're merging. That's taking your eyes off the road. Yikes.
Yeah, they say, and it's real time too. So like if someone cuts you off and you have to brake, it's like, hey there, you're tailgating that guy. You better stop that.
And it's so specific that if you just stop too far back at a stop sign, it considers that an unnecessary stop and then running a stop sign. And of course,
there's no way to fight the algorithm.
Right. You will never get a human being. They talk about, if you're a driver, you never interface with Amazon anyway. You have a supervisor who has been hired by Amazon to be that thing. It's the divorce. You're not an Amazon employee. But those supervisors have attempted to push back against you get a daily rating. And they just get no response. Just here's tomorrow's rating. Shut up.
The only way out is Apple's AI advocating on your behalf, because it's like you're getting real stressed out.
His mental health is really spiraling.
And this is not just something that will get you fired. It will get you fired if you're bad enough at it, but it stops you from getting bonuses. They interviewed one guy, and he was like, yeah, listen, I'm a god of Amazon delivery. And I used to get all the iPads and the bonuses, and I used to win all those fun little things. Not since they added the cameras. Haven't gotten a thing.
It's almost like that's probably what it was designed for.
It certainly did solve that problem, didn't it?
We don't have to spend money on making our employees feel better.
I said that other story was the story of the week, but this is definitely the story of the week. And the crazy thing about this is on MSN, but it was written by somebody else originally, wasn't it?
That's at the top.
Is it?
Is it Weon?
WeonNews@gmail.com. Ron Bergman and Fazil Fasili.
I don't know what Weon is, but anyway, it's an amazing story, and nobody's denying it. They're actually bragging about this. Our government and the Israeli government worked together to do this, and they're like, look how cool this is. Look what we did.
Scientists in the AI-assisted remote-controlled killing machine. So apparently the remote-controlled killing machine was a remote-controlled sniper in a nest that was assembled piece by piece over a period of months.
No, it wasn't in a nest. It was on the back of a truck.
Or on the back of a truck, yeah. And it took months to assemble. And I got it assembled, and it was so accurate that it only killed the target. 15 bullets.
And it compensated automatically for the rock of the truck when it started shooting. Like, they considered that. And the other thing they considered was the 1.2 delay for when you hit the kill button. It would compensate for that. I was like, oh, you told me that 1.6 seconds ago.
The sniper was actually somewhere else watching a video feed.
All right, so this was a nuclear scientist from Iran. They're probably their best nuclear scientist. And he seemed like a wealthy man, obviously. I mean, you have that job in Iran, they'd probably give you whatever you want. So he was going on a holiday, and they're like, listen, bro, there's some talk that they might be taking a shot at you. And he's like, don't worry about it. Just going to head out to the coast for the weekend. And they planned this so perfectly, they knew he had to take a U-turn at a certain place. So that's where they put the truck.
Wow.
And they waited for him to take the U-turn, and then they had another dummy car that stopped him in the road. And then, like you say, 15 bullets. And they only killed one guy. His whole family was in the car. Then, because they did not want anybody to know about the AI killing machine, the truck was packed with explosives. But they did that incorrectly. And instead of, obliterating the robot, it just launched it. So Iran was able to retrieve that and study it. And now we know.
Whoops.
And then they've admitted it too.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot more of this.
It was like this is a very, 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 very early version of the Terminator.
But still pretty effective.
Yeah.
Imagine how good it's going to get.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking, well, if they can mount them to trucks, what else can they mount them to? I can think of a few things.
Boston Dynamics Spot becomes a robotic watchdog for Hyundai. It's doing security, yes, but it's also looking for safety things. It also has an infrared camera, so it can look for equipment that might be overheating or might be malfunctioning, but people are not aware of it yet because the machine's operating, but, giving off excess heat or whatever.
Or human beings that are running a fever.
Or, yes.
They didn't mention that one, but I bet he's looking.
Yeah.
And yes, I gendered him again.
The infrared things are really handy. I've used it here to find a circuit that was overheating, and it was like, oh, look, the wire's hot in the wall. That's bad. It was bad.
It's probably fine. Don't worry about that.
Do you think that when he finds that, do they give him a digital treat?
Yes.
Maybe they give him an NFT.
Yeah, because if you catch that before, it burns the building down or causes something to explode, that's amazing.
Well, you know what's not quite so amazing? Full self-driving from Tesla. They still haven't quite gotten it right, but they do have a new version. However, there's a catch.
Tesla will open controversial full self-driving beta software to owners with a good driving record. You have to there's an apply for beta, and then it'll use the analytics from your last 7 days of driving to determine whether or not you can get the beta.
So you just have to be good for 7 days.
Well, I was kind of thinking, wouldn't you want the people who are bad drivers to use the self-driving? But
No hard braking, no acceleration.
No, Krista, because that's how you get these headlines. Listen, the worst of the Tesla owners we've discovered just go to sleep.
Yeah. Pass out.
They don't care. I wonder, after you get it, are you in forever, or can you fall out by going back to your bad driving habits?
I think you get it forever. Or you get the beta
So you can
forever.
stop using a blinker as soon as you want.
Yeah. After that, on the 8th day, you're just doing burnouts everywhere. Can you do burnouts in a Tesla?
You could teach
Probably.
the software to do burnouts, and it's like good Tesla.
You'd have to disable the driving aids, right? Does it let you do that?
Yeah.
My car lets you do that.
Yeah.
The big Inspiration 4 mission took a bunch of normies to space. Seemed to have gone okay.
SpaceX's private Inspiration 4 mission splashes down safely in the Atlantic Ocean, and they've got a video of it. Yay, the tourists are back.
There was a tweet that got a lot of attention. Mr. Musk said, they were like, oh, did anything weird happen? How was it? Did they like it? And his response was, we needed to improve the toilets.
Apparently no one likes getting the shit sucked out of them. But that's just the breaks when you go to space.
I bet somebody does. But not those people. And wasn't NASA working on that they never could figure out?
Yeah.
They
spent
had like
lot
a
of
public proposal.
Yeah.
They're like, please, someone tell us how to solve going to the bathroom in space.
money. I think even the Mythbusters were working on that at one point.
It is basically just a shop vac.
Yeah. Ugh.
But when we do figure out the new space bathrooms, well, they can definitely put them on this new space station, and hopefully it'll be a better experience.
NASA reviews private space station proposals and expects to save over $1 billion annually after the International Space Station retires. So they're looking at proposals from Musk and Bezos and others. It's like, wow, this is going to save a lot of money. It's only marginally more unsafe than what we've done.
20 years old. Think about getting into a 20-year-old car or a 20-year-old plane.
A 20-year-old car or plane that's been exposed to micrometeorites moving at thousands of miles per hour.
Yeah, so I can understand why they would be a little bit worried about that, but there is still a long time between building this.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get worse.
I was looking at pictures of the interior of the ISS the other day, and I was like, it does, it looks a little dated. It's got some floral wallpaper on there. It needs to come down. And,
Yeah, well, the 2000s.
yeah.
Remember that time?
Oh. Britney Spears was still free.
Oh, she was at her peak at that time.
I had braces. What a
Britney
good
Spears
time.
was just, her wave was cresting at that point. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing her.
That was pre-conservatorship, yeah.
Yeah, before all the bad times. We've seen a number of really, really small robots. Remember the ones that can only do flips?
No,
Oh, yeah.
And they would take them everywhere. They were supposed to be patterned after roaches.
Ugh.
And then they had the ones that were tethered, but they could fly. They were like basically little tiny bugs. And that was cool. But this one is definitely the smallest.
Flying microchips, the size of a sand grain, could be used for population surveillance.
That's a weird editing choice for the title.
Yeah, there's a picture there. They have to beam it energy.
It is so tiny. Now, there are no moving parts or motors. These guys were patterned after maple seeds. If you don't know what a maple seed looks like, it's those little helicopter
Yeah,
seeds.
they spin down.
So what you're going to do, oh, here's a better picture of it. You're going to launch that into the air, and then these little airfoils are designed in such a way to make it descend very slowly and to move laterally while it's doing that. So they will disperse.
In theory, could you breathe that in? It looked pretty small.
I'm sure you could, yeah.
Ugh.
You might get caught in your nose hairs.
Some
I mean,
microplastics.
I mean, I've got a pretty good-sized piece of pencil lead right there in my hand. Definitely bigger than the one in the picture.
You should swap that out for a bunch of these.
Yeah.
And then you could just like launch them out of your hand.
I could fit at least 5 in there. Just
This is a fun story, and you know we're not sports people. Actually, we got a bunch of sports stories this week just because it's weird. But this is hilarious. I love this picture of this guy because he was like, you know what? I got one shot at this, and I'm taking it.
The 60-year-old vice president of a tiny South American nation picked himself to play for the pro soccer team he owns in an elite match. He knew his team was going to lose anyway, so he figured, why not have some fun with it?
And lose they did, 6-0, which in soccer I understand is pretty extreme.
I'm sure that the losing team really appreciated having him on there.
He did not score any goals, obviously. And fantasy football continues to be a big thing. It used to be kind of a fringe thing, but now it's so ubiquitous that even the players themselves participate in it. And in weird cases, they can be playing against themselves.
Raiders kicker Daniel Carlson loses fantasy football match due to his own performance against the Steelers. So in the fantasy football thing, I guess he was playing against himself because he was on a different team?
So they match him up 1 by 1 in this league, I guess. And so his competitor that week had drafted him. And he hit 3 field goals and made every extra point kick. He made half of the score of the game. And so blew himself out of the water on the fantasy league.
All right.
He said that was unfortunate, but he still feels good about it.
Look at the sports ball go.
Listen, that's an impressive feat.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about football, so I'm like, cool, I guess.
Well, you're going to kick a little piece of leather that's oddly shaped and make it go straight for about 45 yards.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And the Oregon Ducks, now I didn't understand this, but they say the NCAA, are the Oregon Ducks a college team? Is that like a College of Oregon or something? Or is that a professional team? Has he gone to it? Again, our sports knowledge is very limited. But this gentleman is definitely looking at ways to make money.
Oregon Ducks star Kayvon Thibodeau,
I think it's
Thibodeau, yeah.
launches his own cryptocurrency. The coin J-Ream. It's going to be traded exclusively on Rally.
So they're talking about here, I guess maybe he started this when he was in the college system, but the NCAA, remember they had that rule where you can't make money if you're in college.
Right.
They've lifted some of that stuff. So now these really popular college players are going crazy with NFTs and stuff like this and cryptocurrencies.
They'll be able to pay back their student loan debt.
They have scholarships, Krista. They don't pay for that. You pay. They don't pay. We've been told pretty much every voice that I hear coming from the media is telling me that whiteness is bad, which is weird because this sounds amazing.
Scientists created the world's whitest paint. It could eliminate the need for air conditioning. That sounds like a TV show title from Comedy Central in the 90s. The whitest paint you know.
It sounds like one of those battery stories, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Sounds too good to be true.
Maybe that's true in places where it's hot and dry, but like, how do you deal with humidity with just paint?
Well, so what happens is this stuff, it reflects infrared and heat in such a way that the surface of the paint will actually lower below the ambient temperature. So they claim.
We need to make all our roofs out of that, but everybody likes the look of a nice black roof, which is not good.
Can I paint my car this color? Imagine how annoying that would be. People just driving down the road like, oh.
So bright.
There was the guy that did the chrome mirror finish on his car got in trouble because people kept being blinded by it.
Yeah, it's a dick move.
Yeah.
For sure. But this is amazing stuff. Here's a picture of it. It doesn't look that white.
It just kind of looks like, a swatch of white on a gray board, but all right.
But he does now hold the Guinness Book of World Record.
This reminds me, we need to work on figuring out the formula for Starlight so we can all retire.
God, the New York Times paywall is so aggressive.
It really is.
Often you will hear, especially younger people, I guess mostly males, I know we're not supposed to differentiate anymore, but you'll have a conversation, who would win in a fight? You might throw out some superheroes, you might just pick like an animal or an animal versus human.
One horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses.
Exactly, and it's all just speculation, but in some cases, we get a definitive answer. For example, penguins versus bees.
Endangered African penguins with multiple bee stings are found dead. Dead bees were found near where the birds died in a park in South Africa, and officials have suggested the bees may have become aggressive after their nest was disturbed. So I read this expecting there to be like 2 or 3 dead penguins. Oh, they found a beehive. They're after the honey. It was 36 penguins.
It was the entire migration.
That's
It's like
a lot
bees
of
in
penguins.
Don't Starve, when like you make one of them angry and they just swarm your whole camp.
It's exactly like that, Krista. So it turns out the penguins, though, like their feathers are so thick that a bee sting couldn't get through there. So the bees only attacked them around their eyes and beaks.
Oh,
Yeah, they had these clusters, and it was enough to kill them.
that means it was probably more than a few stings.
Yeah, there was. They said that there were a lot of bees. Like the colony maybe didn't survive.
Surrey is in UK, right?
Is it?
I don't know.
I thought this was Canada.
We got Auckland wrong last time, right? Or was it New South Wales we got wrong?
New
Oh
South
yeah,
Wales.
some people comment on that. Scroll down. Surely it says in the article where it is.
I thought this was Canada.
Well, it says local news, but it's the Surrey Now Leader. These little local news sites is BC. That's Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, British
Surrey
Columbia.
is in Canada. I'm now confident. They have rats.
Guildford rat problem is so bad, even the cats have given up, residents say. There was 50 in this trash can, and some of them are 2 feet long.
So they got this cat here, and she says that the cat in the past would chase the rats. He looks very healthy. I think he's being fed a lot. But now,
Not so much.
He just accepts them.
There's a lot of rats.
They
There's
say
no
that
pictures of the rats, unfortunately.
2 cars have been totaled from the
Oh, yeah, because
chewing.
they ate the wires.
Right.
Yeah. Why do they do that?
Why would you continue to live there?
Also a good question.
They blame there's like some overgrowth next to the dumpsters, and they say that the overgrowth is a perfect habitat for the rats to live in while they scavenge from the dumpsters.
Oh, it talked about how they had dug tunnels. I didn't know rats would do that.
Tunnel rat?
Yeah.
You never heard that phrase?
Well, I mean, but like that was the thing they actually did.
No, there's an actual kind of rat.
Mm.
They're amazing burrowers.
Yeah, apparently.
Incredible.
The way that article made it sound.
And another depressing animal story, but it's kind of hilarious because it involves herpes and orgies.
Australian government plan to capitalize on carp orgies to cull the pest species with the herpes
I'm
virus.
assuming this is Asian carp.
It's some
Are
kind
you in
of
Australia? Engagement challenge.
bottom feeding invasive species.
Because there's an Asian carp problem here as well, and they also are struggling. They're like, please fish them out of existence. There's way too many of them.
So they're very confident that this herpetic attack will work. But the question is, what do you do with all of them? And the answer is you make cat food. My cats need cat food. There's a cat food shortage.
There's a shortage of everything.
Yeah.
Do you think can you not feed herpetic fish corpses?
Try Googling that. Chat, Google that.
I kind of doubt it. I mean, we're to the point where my mom just assumes that I'm a bad son because I won't get her the brand of peanut butter that she wants. And it's like, I've been everywhere. They don't have it.
She doesn't believe you.
Yeah.
What an amazing way to undermine her sanity if you were doing that on purpose. Imagine the trouble you'd have to go to.
It's like, it's like they don't have peanut butter. I don't know what to tell you.
You got to do the thing like the Instacart drivers do. You got to take a picture when you're at the store and send it to her.
I did do that once.
Is there anything else here that you would like to replace this
It
with?
was just nothing. There were like all the tags on the shelf, and it was just barren nothing. And it's just like,
You moved them.
I got a different brand of peanut butter, but that wasn't good enough.
What's her number one brand?
Jif. It's got to be Jif. You can't be the Kroger brand. That's unacceptable.
It's because she loves that graphic interchange format.
I never understood like the whole I have to get the name brand thing. Maybe that's just like former poverty speaking, because I always bought off brand.
They taste different, but I gotta say, Krista, I used to judge you on the bag cereal, but the bag cereal is superior because they still make some of that with oats instead of corn.
Right, and it tastes more. I mean, it's probably not exactly 1-to-1, but like it's 99%.
No, but I mean, it's in some cases it's better because you
Yeah.
get that oat you know, like texture.
I gave her the remaining Jif that I had at home, and so I've been eating the Kroger peanut butter. It's fine.
It tastes the same.
It's tough to tell the difference.
It's perhaps a little more oily.
What could
Slightly.
you? All right, now, okay, here you go. You've just solved the problem because now she'll accept an open container, right? So now you just have to keep
See if that
recycling.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, if that goes wrong, it will prove that I have not been trying hard enough to find the name brand peanut butter.
You try hard enough to trick her with fake peanut
No,
butter.
tell her that you're sourcing it from other people. Well, now, but then she wouldn't want to eat that because then who knows who's been in there. Right?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. It's a tough one. Well, maybe
What
you
nonsense.
should. Maybe you should have her trade cryptocurrency. And I know you're saying that she doesn't know anything about cryptocurrency, but apparently that's
Doesn't
not,
matter.
You don't need to know.
Crypto trading hamster outperforms Bitcoin, Warren Buffett, and Catherine Wood. So there's this hamster that has a wheel, an exercise wheel set up, and some sensors. And so like it can go in and out, and depending on where the wheel stops, it's like a wheel of fortune. And then which door he goes through, that decides if it's a buy or a sell. That's not it. It's the other picture.
Right, but this is
Isn't that
amazing because all of this, Krista, is edible.
Yeah, of course. We'll chew on it.
So here it is. Yeah, he will whenever he runs on the wheel that initiates a trade, and the wheel determines what crypto he will be trading, and then depending on which hole he goes through, that's a buy or a sell. So he's up 30%. But unfortunately, he only started with like $390, so he's not recovered the cost of his habitat.
Oh, tragic.
But listen, he's still trading.
He's going to get it back one day, you see.
I remember we did this story originally, and it turns out the Hobby Lobby people are very religious. And there's a lot of these artifacts in Iran that are,
Iraq.
Yeah.
Iraq, I'm sorry. That are like, Christian artifacts, but shared, there's a lot of shared history in the religions.
Right.
And they're like, no, we must reclaim these for Jesus. And Iraq was like, bro, those are ours.
You literally raided the National Museum in order to get these.
And that court case has been resolved.
Ancient tablet acquired by Hobby Lobby is going back to Iraq. This is part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's apparently part of a dream that Gilgamesh had or something. And it was originally in the National Iraqi Museum.
And literally priceless. Although they did pay something for it.
I think they got it from a place in London. So, like, the story goes that they didn't know that it was stolen from the London museum they bought it from. But I feel like this is a repeated problem with Hobby Lobby where they buy these artifacts and they're like, we didn't know it was stolen. And it's like, did you not know?
Well, but they uncovered some emails where people had warned him. And they're like, bro, you know that these, like half of this stuff is stolen, right? You need to be careful here. And he was like, I want it.
I want it. Don't
I
care.
need that. Do you know who I am? I'm Hobby Lobby.
I don't know the owner's name. He just
No.
identifies as Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's like Shakespeare. He identifies himself as the state, but instead it's Hobby Lobby. I am Denmark. I am the bead section.
I am America.
No, it's all Christmas stuff. So, like, when you go to Hobby Lobby, they start putting Christmas stuff out and fall stuff in, like, August.
Oh, you know what? We didn't go to Cracker Barrel this year to see when they did it. They keep moving it forward as well.
Hobby Lobby's probably the worst. Actually, all craft stores are the worst for that. Like, they start putting Christmas stuff out in summertime.
Well, Krista, you probably have the best eye for fashion among the table here. Did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica?
No.
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 But I do know that you are currently nerding out over costumes and movies.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
So
I enjoy. There's a whole side of YouTube where people who actually know how to sew talk about that kind of thing.
So please rank these.
U.S. Space Force will wear Battlestar Galactica uniforms.
All right, you ready for it?
Scroll on down.
Boom. The one on the right is Battlestar. The one on the left is U.S. Space Force.
They are very similar, aren't they? I mean, they look fine. Are those dress uniforms or are those like what they wear all the time?
No, yeah, these are dress. And that's a commander.
So the jacket fits really well. What's happening with the pants? They seem a little baggy.
That is on purpose, right?
I don't know.
If you're in like an Air Force type deal, because they used to call the 101st, the Nazis called them like devils in baggy pants or something like that. Because like they looked silly,
Yeah.
but once they showed up, it was rough times. And there's the man, the legend.
It's the dress uniform. Star Trek dress uniform.
What year could he no longer fit into that?
The year right after that movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, they look nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
It's funny that they did just kind of like blatantly take them from like a sci-fi show, but
I feel like that's kind of what people want from the Space Force.
yeah. Well, it's like, well, what the hell are they going to be doing anyway? So
Kind of a feel good. This one I just added because it's so horrifying. And do you think somebody did this just because they're a vandal or because they hated it? Because
Yes.
Probably both.
it's awful.
Update: the hatched baby statue deemed irreparable after theft. So this is a statue that, well, it's not all of it. There's like a baby climbing out of a broken egg. You got to show the broken egg part of it.
Yeah, so here he is, this guy that created it. And here's the egg. So someone took the head off of the egg. They stole it.
this looks like something that should have been on Facebook Marketplace.
So he created this, and his
There's a tiny
inspiration.
picture of it right there. No, go up. Up. Right there.
His inspiration was the birth of his daughter because he said it was so terrifying that he wanted to create something that showed that terror. And here's what he came up with.
Yeah, but it cannot be repaired. It's like, just let it die. It's been there since 2008. The city where, I guess, because he has other artwork and I guess is a famous artist. And the city's like, we love to have this piece. I'm pretty sure this is the piece that they couldn't sell.
He was like, well, we're just going to throw it away. So
So just
fine.
put it out.
have you guys seen it? It's really bad. Sometimes, you have that need to get extreme. And you have to do it. There is no question about it. You must do it, no matter what it costs you. And in this case, it cost this man his freedom.
Man charged with felony under 3 strikes law after police say he underpaid for a Mountain Dew.
This is very upsetting.
How much did he underpay for that Mountain Dew? 29 cents.
But the price listed for the Mountain Dew was 2 for $3. Now, if you do the math, it's going to cost you $1.50, right? He
No.
left $2. He overpaid.
They said no.
But he didn't actually pay for it. See, the impression I got here is that this guy's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? And he's been a repeated offender of these little petty crimes.
Yeah, he stole a bunch from Kmart
Yeah.
and got caught.
Stole sneakers. And it's just stupid little things that just make him a horrible person. And then he decided to be cool and just slap down $2 and just walk out and not speak to anybody. Drop the mic kind of thing. Didn't work out for him.
But now the taxpayers get to pay for that 27 cents
Right,
in
yeah.
terms of like feeding and clothing him and keeping a roof over his head. Is it really worth that?
Also,
Is that crime really worth?
what a coup for Pepsi Corporation, right? That's an amazing advertisement. They'd have to pay $1 for it.
I think, yeah, from the taxpayer side of this, it's just like, I mean, if we're going to go for 3 strikes felony, it should be like 5 strikes death penalty. Like, let's just not have it be anybody's taxpayer problem at all anymore.
So you basically want to...
You just want to double down on that
Yeah,
system.
you
What's
want to give our leaders basically Jinping power?
Yeah,
'Cause
I
that's
mean,
what they would do.
Yeah.
My point is maybe if I had been the judge in that case and it was like, you're really going to put this guy in prison over 27, I would have been like, here, take $1. I'll pay for it for this guy. Like,
You got to go live in Montana now.
Yeah, but if you got to go read his other crimes, Krista, because his whole lifetime he's just been a piece of garbage.
The other crimes were much more serious.
And
Right.
No, they weren't that serious, but they had victims.
Yeah.
And if you were that victim, you'd feel differently about it.
It's
27 cents, though. I don't.
It's also not a pattern of escalation either. Like, it doesn't seem like it's getting worse.
But it's continuing.
yeah,
It's gonna keep happening.
yeah.
27 cents.
Oh, why are people terrible?
Because they're people. It's what we are. This NASDAQ story is ridiculous. It's why did this ever get printed? But it's funny.
A Bitcoin price of 100K could come from a testosterone-fueled frenzy. The whole point of this article is that it's almost wintertime, and testosterone goes up in the winter.
Which I was surprised by. Do you think that's because it's good for babies to be born not in the wintertime?
Probably.
So here they've correlated the price of Bitcoin and the seasons. That's pretty much what they've done here. Good job, NASDAQ. But they did make a pretty decent stock photo. Krista, what do you think?
That's everything about, like, why is there a gradient? Is that from the website? What does the gradient add to this?
I'm pretty sure that they photoshopped his hand too, because the other hand is the wrong size.
But what was he holding before that?
I think it was just,
Oh, he was just flexing.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Also, like, you feel bad if you're the girl on the truck, right? You show up to the photo shoot and you're like, yeah, I'm beautiful, I'm going to be. And they're like, yeah, you're in the back.
Well, it might not even be from the same photo shoot. They may have just cobbled multiple images together.
Like, literally none of this existed at the same time. It's all stock photos.
I don't understand this at all.
No, this is weird.
I watched the video and decided that this is just, like, what is this?
Yeah, I guess it's just, they just want attention.
Maybe.
They got it, but...
Maybe the mom. I like to, in the best scenario, the mom is a big fan of Rick and Morty.
Or Soulja Boy. And how is Soulja Boy still making music? So many questions.
A woman who went viral for rapping Rick and Morty, which is the song by Soulja Boy, over her mom's casket says it was therapeutic. I didn't know that.
You didn't know what?
That Rick and Morty was a song by Soulja Boy.
Oh, I didn't know Soulja Boy was still making music.
There's not much to this.
They did it. They won't apologize for it.
They didn't do it well, even. It wasn't even good.
You think Soulja Boy does it well?
Better than that, I assume.
Is his rhythm still intact at this advanced stage?
I don't even have any rhythm, and I knew it was bad.
He does the motorcycle move. That was like his signature move back in high school.
Well, I'm talking about, is he hitting the beat every time with his rhymes?
Oh.
Is that a muscle that deteriorates?
Man, if Soulja Boy, if TikTok had been around when I was in high school and like that "You" song was out, like that would have been, everyone would have been doing that dance on TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
It was a cultural phenomenon for sure.
And then he just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Well, no, he's...
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess he's around, but...
He's watching cartoons. El Salvador, the Bitcoin phenomenon continues to roll on there, and a lot of people protested it. I wonder how much of that was real or how much of that was fabricated.
I thought, my understanding of the protests was that they weren't protesting really. It was that they didn't get what they were promised is why they were freaking out.
Yeah.
But some of them didn't like the idea of Bitcoin because they were like
fees.
Street vendors and stuff.
Yeah.
And it threatened their business model.
Maybe they didn't want to pay taxes, or they're used to not paying taxes because it's a cash transaction. So a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of that. Anyway, he seems to have taken it in stride. This is apparently sarcasm, but no one's really sure.
El Salvador president changed his Twitter profile to dictator.
Please put that in yours.
Not ironically. But
change your
dictator.
Dictator.
Historically, how many dictators have actually called themselves dictators?
Not many.
They almost always go with something democratic.
Yeah.
Or they're, like grand leader or, glorious leader, something like that.
And those Dennis Rodman documentaries, apparently like his friends, Kim Jong wants his friends to call him the Marshal. So Rodman, the whole movie just refers to him as the Marshal, and it never stops being funny. This is a story that points out not only that our judiciary system is hopelessly lost and must be replaced, but also that the bureaucracy of it needs to be relaxed because no one can tolerate it.
Solitaire playing judge raises issue of procedural fairness in NMAX TransAlta Power lawsuit. So she was playing solitaire, which reflected off of the glass wall behind her, and it showed up later. And so she issued an apology and was like, well, I shouldn't have been playing solitaire, but I really was paying attention to your case, I promise, because I asked questions and I was prepared and I knew everything, and, it's fine.
Listen, I can't tell you how many hours I spend playing indie roguelikes while I'm listening to a podcast. It's doable. As long as there's no text on the screen, I'm fine. But a judge should not be allowed to do that. She's at work. I do not play indie roguelikes at work.
There've been a bunch of conference calls that I've been inflicted on me, and it's like, I could be playing Monster Train right now and still be like perfectly participating in the conference call, no problem.
You just got to make damn sure you don't go anywhere near that share screen button.
It is kind of sometimes like a competition for phone calls. It's like, how long can I last before I have to say something? Sometimes you can get through the whole thing with just saying thank you at the end.
Most of those conference calls, everybody feels the need to contribute, and that makes me even more reluctant to contribute because it's usually worthless.
Yeah.
Did one of you guys add this story?
No.
I don't know why I would have added this. I think this is something that is either we got the wrong link or it has changed. We're getting rid of it.
Okay.
Here is a story that once again shows the hypocrisy in government. I mean, we got a lot of examples of that, right? But this one's really, really in your face.
U.S. Rep. Virginia Fox opposes marijuana legalization but has invested heavily in cannabis stock.
Hey, surprise.
So just like Pelosi, you can get this information after 45 days. And someone was looking into her, and sure enough, she's a Republican who is staunchly anti-legalization as far as her voting goes. But she owns quite a bit of, what was the name of the company? It was Altria. Yeah, I've made a little bit of money with Altria during the meme times. It's a cigarette company, but they're moving into other stuff because they know that cigarettes are coming to an end. Good job.
Not even surprising anymore.
She probably won't even sell it
Probably not.
because it's legal. Disgusting. I was just telling Krista about this story because I knew this would set her off. Because it sets me off.
Yeah, it makes me angry.
It is disgusting. And if these people don't go to jail, which they won't, it's even more disgusting.
Police leaked domestic violence victims' escape plan to abuser for family safety, court told. The guy who was abusing was a cop, and his wife, I guess, went to a supervisor there and was like, listen, I gotta leave, I'm going. And slowly that basically made its way around the cop station, and the cop did some bad things to the wife after he found out about it.
Sexual and physical abuse. Pretty much the worst thing you can do. And so she went back and was like, hey, you all caused this. And they were like, no, that's protocol. But it's not.
They were like, we were concerned about his well-being. It's like, bitch, whose well-being were you concerned about? After she came to you saying, hey, I'm being beaten by my husband? What the fuck?
Do you think they went to him afterwards and pulled him aside and they were like, listen, Bill, are you doing all right after the rape? Are you okay? Do you need to talk?
I hate it. I hate this reality. Let me out. Let me out. Also, speaking of horrible realities.
I don't know. This could be good. It's just their voices. Nintendo is finally going to make a Mario movie, and you're saying, oh, no, Ryan, they already made one. Don't you remember? Oh, we remember. We were looking at clips earlier, and we were thinking to ourselves, you know what would be fun? We could watch this with a watch-along with our Twitch viewers.
You can't even get it
It's
on
not
Prime.
even, yeah.
There's no streaming service. It's so bad. No streaming service cares about it. You can get the DVD for $3.99 from Amazon. It's Mario.
Chris Pratt is Mario in Nintendo's animated movie coming December 21st, 2022. So this is some pretty early news.
Yeah, there's some photos here. People were reacting all over the internet to this. This would have been a week ago now, but Chris Pratt as Mario.
Is Chris Italian?
No, I don't think anyone in the cast is Italian. Charlie Day is Luigi. Weird choice.
I really can't wait to see how that.
I don't know who this girl is, but she's a decent peach, I think. That was the closest one.
She was in that chess film that Netflix did. She's pretty popular from that.
Okay. I haven't seen that, but I have heard about it. But it doesn't matter because in a cartoon, you don't have to look like the character.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
Well, they have Seth Rogen, I think, for Donkey Kong.
Okay.
Do you think they'll motion capture for that? I mean, surely not, though, because their proportions are so weird.
Yeah, that can't do that.
That worked okay for Gollum.
You think?
That guy was tiny.
Yeah. I have so many questions about it. It's like
That's what they
Are
want.
they all gonna have to do Italian accents?
See, Krista, you're playing right into their hands here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have heard about it if people didn't lose their minds on the internet about it yesterday. So.
Yeah, I'm going to be totally disappointed if Chris Pratt doesn't break out "It's a me."
Yeah.
But I think he's going to have a hard time doing that. Has he done accents in movies before?
I wonder if Nintendo's going to bother with getting the names right. Because in the old Mario movie, I'm pretty sure that the character's name was Mario, and Mario Luigi. Luigi Mario.
That was the name. Yeah, the official. I don't know. They will have to deal with that. Are you going to deal with the parents of Mario and Luigi? Because they are brothers, right?
They are brothers.
Well, in the movie, he was adopted.
What about Daisy? Is Daisy in this movie?
Yeah, that's Luigi's love interest. They didn't announce any casting for Daisy.
Poor Luigi. Kind of fits with the Charlie Day character, though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I saw a Photoshop of him with, like, from Always Sunny where he has the spaghetti. I was like, what's your spaghetti policy here? But he had the Luigi hat on. And I was like, I could, maybe I could see that.
What's your spaghetti policy?
And again, it doesn't matter because, they're not the character. We're not looking at them. It's just the voice. But also, Luigi is big and lanky and tall.
Right.
And he's tiny. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, are they gearing that toward children or not?
Probably.
Is it going to be basically the same as
bringing Mario
Sonic?
to a new generation?
Probably.
Mario's been here for every generation. They've never left Mario alone long enough for any generation to not recognize
his corpse is never cold.
Here's a warning in terms of this is not an online scam necessarily, although I'm sure that was a portion of it.
Utah woman loses hair and dignity, online confidence in phone scam convincing her to shave her head.
So I read this article and I didn't understand. So did someone just call her and be like, you should shave your head? And she was like, okay.
I think it was a performance thing.
It was a known number and name, like someone she recognized. I don't know if it was because they were famous or what. And then they did double check that number, but they were just spoofing it. So she's not that bright. And she was like, oh my God, it's really that person. And I think this was a person kind of like the YouTube guy you mentioned earlier who does like the money prize stuff.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah. Kind of like that, where it was like, if you do this, you're going to get thousands of dollars. And she was like, oh, I'm going to do it. And then she did it. And
it was not real. It was fake.
I feel like if you just stopped and questioned that for like any point in the process.
She did a little bit.
Well, I think that was part of it. Like, you have to do it right now.
Yeah.
Time's running out. Also, a little, you know what? It's 2021 and we're not supposed to be doing these microaggressions. We're equating hair with dignity. Really?
I guess, I'm sympathetic because that would suck, but at the same time, like, verify. Trust, but verify. Like, who calls someone and tells you to shave your head right now?
Over in Afghanistan, they have won a war. And when you win a war, it's cool. You get some good times after that. When you lose a war, it sucks. But when you win, you get to celebrate. The problem they're running into is they have these really hard-line religious crusaders. And they really only have one function. So what do you do with them?
Taliban militants take swan-themed pedal boat rides in Afghan National Park. And oh boy, these photos are surreal.
With RPGs.
Look how happy they look.
Look at that beautiful water.
That water is gorgeous.
I'm getting an idea here. I want you to imagine basically the same thing as Brokeback Mountain, but same plot.
What if we held hands on the swan boat?
Ahmed, I cannot quit you.
Look at that. I understand he took it for the photo op, but why?
This has like GTA energy. Like this should be a screenshot in GTA.
Also, look at the draft on that boat. They are dangerously deep in
Yeah.
the water.
Well, all those weapons weigh a lot.
They're in full kit out there.
Wait, did we show them the picture? Did we skip over to that on the? There we go. Yeah, make sure they could see it.
And then
there's the same one.
original
Yeah.
one.
I wish it would have been funnier if they had like the little water guns on the front of the boats, and they were all just paddling.
Yeah. So I don't know what you do with these guys because they were saying that these guys are restless. This is a military force that you need to use because otherwise they're just going to go out in the community and cause trouble. And then as I was going through and reading the news, I saw on another website, the #1 article, the Taliban has announced that executions will continue. So they'll have a job
until morale approves.
Yeah. Duck boats are amazing.
Maybe
I was gonna say that does look like a beautiful national park.
Maybe that's how they're figuring it out. If you deserve to be executed or not, is like you go on the duck boat, and if you laugh and enjoy it, you're going on the list.
Have you ever seen? I can't remember what it's called, but in the military, they do something to test if you will react to things, and the thing that they use now are those rubber ducks where you squeeze them and they make that awful noise. Those videos are absolutely hilarious because these guys are doing everything they can not to make a reaction, and the guy's behind them and he's got that duck and it's just like, And they can't do it.
I wouldn't be able to.
Well, that's it.
That's it for the week.
It's October.
Woo!
Oh,
Where does the time go?
were we just doing one Linode per week in October?
No, the Linode ads will actually start next week. I just wanted to give you a heads up about November coming and all this stuff.
Okay,
So
yeah.
look forward to Linode ads.
Another announcement about November. You have to complete your project this year.
Yeah.
I'm not reading through other more incomplete projects.
Oh my gosh. And we haven't even announced the prize list yet, but there will be a purge. Oh, there will be a purge.
So stay tuned for that. Even if you don't like the content, you could get something.
Woo!
Yeah. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.